Well, here we are. The X-Files gets grander with its theatrical debut. The plot expands from present day all the way to the prehistoric.
New aliens, new plots, new people everywhere.
Join us as we dive deep into the mythology and find some answers and new questions to propel the series into the future.
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Scully,
I found the bomb.
you're funny. Where are you, Mulder?
I'm in the vending room.
Is that you pounding?
Yeah, you gotta get somebody to open that door.
Nice try, Mulder.
Look, Scully, it's in the soda machine. You got about 14 minutes to evacuate this building.
Come on, Mulder.
56, 1354, 1352, 1350. You see a pattern emerging here, Scully?
Hold on, Mulder. I'm gonna get you out of there. I need this building evacuated and cleared out in 10 minutes. I want you to call the fire department and have them block off the city center in a 1-mile radius around the building.
10 minutes?
Don't think. Just pick up that phone and make it happen.
This is security. Emergency in progress.
This is Special Agent Dana Scully. I need to speak with SAC Michaud. He's got the wrong building.
Hello and welcome back to the show today. I am your host, Mike, and with me is Andrew, Kerry, and a very special guest, one who some of you may recognize, Mr. Josh. How are we doing, Josh?
Oh, hi. I'm great, guys. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm very excited. I have been kind of poking Mike now and then to try to weasel my way in at some point, and it's extra exciting to be here for the grand Hollywood escalation of X-Files.
We are excited
We
to
are
have
very
you.
happy. Andrew, Kerry, how are you guys doing this evening?
Well, I'm not as hyped as Josh is, but I'm pretty hyped.
And I'm just sort of here.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
In a nutshell.
Skinner.
It's begun.
In a nutshell. You know
It's
how
begun.
the evening's going to be.
I just sit back and watch half the time. Just
So here we
shaking my
are.
head.
Season 5 has come to an end, and The X-Files, as we know it, has gone to Hollywood. This is their big debut, of course, written by Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz, directed by our boy Rob Bowman, heavy hitter. And even though Andrew has tipped his hand a little bit already, I will ask what everyone's first impressions are. Kerry, if you would like to start us off. We already know
what?
where Andrew's going.
I actually liked the movie. I for what it was. I thought I remember I actually went on opening day, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. I mean, it's not like an Oscar award-winning movie. It's not meant to be, but I thought it was entertaining. I did get confused at a couple points, but the fact that Mulder and Scully are on the big screen kind of made up for that for me. So I liked it, Andrew.
Good stuff. Josh?
I do remember seeing this in the theater. So I'm going to try to recall my actual first impressions and then my impressions now.
Mhm.
So this was 98, right? This dropped.
Yeah.
So I was 15, and I do remember kind of like what Kerry said, just seeing Mulder and Scully on a big screen in a movie theater with like a shitload of people in there was kind of exciting, because to me, X-Files was always like the thing I watched at home in the den alone, or sometimes like my parents would watch it. So like that kind of sharing that experience was exciting. And there's definitely, even watching it now, there's stuff I like about this. You know, it comes at a pretty high point in the series, I think. Overall, I mean, the series was very popular. It was, I think, around peak popularity at that point, season 5. And I think there's things that they execute well. I like the idea of trying to make all the strings of mythology kind of focus into one, at least connected web, versus just a random kind of pattern of some things that align and don't. I don't know, and I want to give it credit for just the effort of doing this. It's a really unique thing to take a TV show that's still playing and is coming back the next season, make a theatrical release that is going to fit into the middle of that show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a pretty bold undertaking. So I give it some extra credit for that. As a part of the X-Files, I think it escalates some things too much, and I think it loses some of what in the Hollywood glam and glamour. It loses some of what makes X-Files so special. And I think it's sort of a tough transition back to the small screen. But it's pretty good, I guess. It's pretty good.
I actually agree with a lot of that.
I want to pick up on that thread and say that I totally agree. I think what the problem for me with this movie generally is it suffers from having to succeed because it is a big budget Hollywood movie. At the root of it, it is $66 million budget. So, whoever financed it, and I'm sure Fox is the major contributor, they have to get their money back. So like most movies, they really can't afford to make something that's too cerebral or too stylistic. It has to hit a lot of markers that are going to appeal to a mass audience. So it can't be too thinky. And I think that it suffers from a popcorn munching blockbuster syndrome where there's got to be some action, there's got to be some romance, there's got to be some thrills. And that has not traditionally been what the TV show has really gone for at all. So they're definitely trying it, and it works surprisingly well. I mean, I will give them credit, like you say, Josh, that they did do something really innovative by taking something that really worked on the TV screen and bringing it to the big screen in a way which kind of transitioned well and worked. But as an X-Files property, I think that it doesn't really hang together very well. In some things, I will probably skewer overly. But I did not see it in the theaters.
No.
Maybe I would have.
You, Andrew?
I know.
You
are shocked
That's
in
your
advance.
problem,
But maybe if I'd seen it in the theaters, I would have reacted differently. I might have, been swept away by everybody else, and I would have this wave of nostalgia, which would inform my critique of it. But anyway, we shall see.
I am intrigued, and I won't belabor the point. We can dive in, but I'm intrigued. You say it's not about, or the action aspect of the show is not really present until now. If I heard you correctly, I think that's what you said. I think it's an interesting take. I think there's a good balance for the show generally.
I think what I mean by that is blockbuster style action, like
explosions,
buildings exploding as they're running away, and a hail of gunfire and they're shooting back, and real tropey Hollywood stuff. Like generally, I think the X-Files takes and I hate to use the word cerebral because I don't think that's the right word, but they take a bit more stylized approach to it. Like, throwing an example, Mulder gets his butt kicked and his gun is flung away, and he pulls another gun out from his boot, and he's like, I'm tired of getting my gun kicked away. That extra level, but they can do that because it's episodic. Whereas in a movie, you don't have that kind of ability, right? So
is it bad? I know exactly which episode.
It's not bad at all. I would be surprised if you didn't.
It's Nisei, isn't it? Or seventh Nisei?
It is.
Nisei, yeah. I get tired of losing my gun. All right. Well, great viewpoints, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the
will be
podcast.
coming into this.
See you on our next show.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. That's it.
Can I
It's extra
interject
short
for
today?
one moment, if you don't mind?
No, absolutely.
Just to say, as someone that used to talk about X-Files on a podcast, that I have really fallen in love with your guys' show covering the X-Files, and it makes me so goddamn happy to hear you guys carry it on. And it was good from the beginning, but I think you guys have really, really gotten into your stride. You have a great dynamic between the three of you, the shared viewpoints. I poke a little fun, Andrew, because I know you're going to find some shit. But you guys always bring different things to it, all three of you. And it's really cool. And the product you guys are making is great. It's well edited, it's well put together. And it's just, it really makes me happy I'm entertained just as a listener, but as somebody who used to kind of be involved and have you guys also there in a different fashion, it's really cool just to see. And I'm glad that people are still listening, and hope your audience continues to grow. And I'll be sticking around.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
I really appreciate that.
Nice.
All the gob sucking for right now.
Mike, did you get that transfer sent to him?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the confirmation.
Cleared the bank
Excellent,
account.
great.
No, I really do appreciate that, because I started listening just like we all did to your old show, and we wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for you guys. And we're very appreciative and thankful that we are able to carry that torch. So,
I mean, Kerry and Mike wouldn't be moving to
that.
Canada if we hadn't had this whole connection here.
This is true.
It's pretty exciting.
yeah, moving my family to Canada.
Dear God.
Well, let's dive in, shall
Let
we?
us fight the future together.
Oh, here we go.
I have been waiting. Listen, I gotta say, my puns have really fallen apart lately
They
because
have.
the titles they have not lent themselves very well to punation. Like all we can do is pun the thing with the thing. So
Oh, boy. It's going to be a long movie.
better than struggling. I'm struggling with the past. That's the problem. Where I need to be fighting the future.
Oh,
Oh.
Oh, stop it. Actually, no, I encourage
It's
Yeah, I know,
fun.
it's because of you.
Well, we open to some black oil. We get a brand new X-Files logo for, a great new entrance into Hollywood, Andrew.
Yes.
We fade to white and we see two figures running in North Texas, prehistoric 35,000 BC. They're following some tracks in the snow. They find a narrow cavern and peer inside. As they travel into the cavern, they strike up crude torches. We can see from what little light they have, they are our ancestors. They hear a shriek of sorts in the distance. The icy cavern has a nice blue glow, which I am to understand. This cave right now, in the first couple scenes, is actual ice cave. They didn't build this. In the latter half of the scene, they did build it. But this is 100% genuine when they first enter. And that blue glow is natural light, which is
That's very
Pretty
That
nice.
is very cool.
They said it was especially scary because obviously ice can crumble at any moment from above. So they got in, got out. They hear the outside wind howling in the distance. One man comes across another Neanderthal trapped behind a wall of ice. Suddenly he's ambushed by something, and he and the being end up in a life and death struggle. As it claws at his chest, he manages to pierce it with a sharp object. The creature screams, but is unfazed. Coming to his rescue, his friend drives a sort of stake into the beast's back. It shrieks and runs off. The living Neanderthal studies what is left of his friend, all while keeping an eye on his surroundings. He travels a bit further in search of the creature. He catches a glimpse of it, its oily skin glistening in what little light there is from the torch. He approaches slowly to find a smooth creature with big eyes lying still. It lunges at him, engages him. They struggle. The Neanderthal manages the upper hand and pierces him 3 times as the creature howls in pain and dies. Assuming a narrow victory, he sees what appears to be blood come out of the wounds he inflicted. It's dark, oily, and then it begins to move towards him. Unfortunately for him, he got some on him while killing the creature. He feels it invading his body slowly. He lets out a fearful scream, and the camera pans up into darkness. What do you guys think of this scene?
Well, clearly this is where the credits have to roll, not before. I mean, do they not know how to make an X-Files episode?
They're going against the grain with this already.
That's true. I dig it. I mean, it's a nice, interesting take. I know that they wanted to make something where they had extreme environments. They wanted to make it really awesome, as opposed to the legend always being Washington D.C. We're gonna have a caper in a city again. So that's cool. Yeah, I liked it.
Giving a bit of history to this one.
Super history, 35,000 years ago. Although really, this is the oldest lesson that no one ever learned. Splitting up the party never works.
Never works.
That's a good point.
Well, we get a really interesting, and I actually like this cut a lot. As the camera pans up into darkness, immediately after that, a young boy, Stevie, falls through the top of the cavern. He was playing with his friends when he falls through the earth. Nearby, he finds an old skull. They're excited they've discovered a cave and some bones. Stevie looks around as his friends watch from above, and as he peers at the half-broken skull, he feels something underneath him. He looks down to find some black oil under his feet. He drops the skull as he sees hundreds of slithering worms underneath his skin crawling up towards his face. He looks up to his friends who sense something wrong. Then his eyes flood with the iconic black oil X-Files is known for. The kids run off to help their friend, or to find help for their friend, and we get yet another slick time jump. As the kids fade into the distance, we fade in on the same shot with the paramedics arriving. The fire chief is actually Gary Grubbs. We saw him in season 2 as the sheriff in our town. He's running the whole show right now and demands a 14-foot ladder put into the hole. He sends in 2 other firefighters on tethers searching for the boy, and almost immediately there's zero contact with them via their walkie-talkies. He keeps calling for TC, one of the men, but to no avail. Frustrated, he sends in 2 more, Glenn and Sal, and as he does so, a helicopter appears overhead and lands in the middle of the chaos.
I do appreciate this fire captain who is sending additional crews in like he's like a British officer in World War I, just sending more guys over the top of the trench. Just like you lose 2 guys, he just names the next 2 guys like, all right, 2nd Battalion over the top. Let's go. Here we are.
I was really waiting for the recap to be like, I've sent 16 guys in there and I haven't heard a peep.
None of them are coming back.
Are you guys going to go down the hole? Because I don't know if that's a good idea.
Just keep throwing resources at it.
That shot, I do remember in the theater, because the first scene was a little bit like, whoa, what the fuck are we doing here? The shot looking down at little Stevie with the black oil, I was like, oh, that looks good. And it's kind of the balance of, so this is a Rob Bowman joint, and he always does the more cinematic feeling episodes, I would say. And so it's a great transition, because I think he keeps some continuity in some of it. And Andrew, I'm interested to hear where it breaks, because part of it is like, okay, is the black oil, is it too like T-1000 like? It kind of does more than it does in the show. But then there's moments when it's like, that just looks like an X-Files episode, but kind of better. And I'm looking at a big screen and it's cool.
Yeah, I caught that too. I was intrigued that they used Bowen for this instead of Goodwin, because obviously they needed Goodwin to do the season finale. That's his job, right? But I was just thinking if this would have looked any different if he had done it. And I think his trademark is interesting transitions, because we were just talking about that with Erlenmeyer Flask. In this case, they have used some interesting transitions, specifically get to the fire crew arriving. But I think that the script kind of demands that it be, the story be told the way it is. I don't think that they give a lot of wiggle room for how that camera gets to be angled. Like there's no other way to really show Stevie in that hole, for example. I think we'll see more of it as the movie is revealed, but it's definitely stylistic as fuck when you're on the big screen.
And I think Bowman does a pretty good job throughout this movie that he's utilizing different cameras, different lenses, and he's getting a lot of that composition down. Especially in that, for example, that spotlight shining down on Stevie. That actually turned into one of the posters. It was liked so much by the production crew. So I think he does a pretty good job throughout, but we can discuss as we go.
Do love Gary Grubbs, the fire chief, just being so out of his element here as everything else is going on. That's right. He's so hapless, right? Like he's so small town, being caught up in the elements. It's really good. I really like this movie so far.
Well, it's good because we're only 9
That's
minutes.
Right.
So
it's usually how it goes with X-Files. Solid open, and then it goes down. Well, not always.
Plummets.
Yeah.
This is my new day job, by the way, is firefighting, like whatever.
Is it?
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's my recent late in life career transition. And let me just add one thing. No fire captain's going to sit there on a scene that like he's the IC, the incident commander, and these guys show in and he's just looking around like, oh, wait, geez, wow, a lot of stuff happening. Hey, by the way, check out my guys when you're down there.
This is small town Texas. They don't work quite as well.
Yeah, maybe your guy is way more capable than Gary Grubbs. I think that's what we're getting here.
Poor Gary Grubbs. Oh, man. Well, a helicopter appears overhead and lands in the middle of the chaos. A hazmat team with an what I would call a hyperbaric chamber. Is that correct? What would you guys call this?
I don't know how to properly term it.
Super sciencey gurney.
Yeah, that is the proper
with
term,
tanks
yeah.
on the side.
That looks good because my notes say mobile bubble thing. So that's
There you go. Okay, so I'm not the only one. All right, I feel better now. They hop out, as does a man in a shirt and tie. He's an older gentleman who looks a little worried. He immediately takes charge without introducing himself. The fire chief is explaining he's sent in 4 men but isn't getting any response. The hazmat team pass by with the little boy in the science bubble thing, and he looks paralyzed. He's still got the black oil in his eyes. The fire chief asks desperately about his men but is ignored. The helicopter lifts off, and in a dramatic change in music from about mystical to very driven and intense, a large tanker truck arrives and encircles the hull. The cleanup has now officially begun, as we saw in Unusual Suspects. We're getting a different view now. We're seeing it from start to finish. The chief lets out his confusion, perhaps by accident. What the hell is this? The man in a tie heads over to the truck, sneaks a phone call to someone. He introduces himself over the phone. It's Braunschweig. He claims the impossible scenario we never planned for. Well, we better come up with a plan.
And what a plan it shall be.
And what a plan it is. Okay.
pretty impressive response for a scenario you never planned for. Because it seems like seems like you have some shit ready to go.
We got a helicopter with a science bubble thing and 3 tanker trucks just ready to go.
I do like that shift in tone though, where they just roll in and it's okay, shit's happening.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty good, pretty well done.
Yep.
I enjoyed that scene.
Typical conspiracy response. It was on brand so far.
We cut to a helicopter circling and landing on the federal building in Dallas. A man gets out. It is Terry O'Quinn. We last saw him in Aubrey as a different character. Again, season 2. A man reports the situation. They've found nothing. The dogs have been through already. SAC Michaud, who is Terry O'Quinn, tells him to send the dogs through once again. He then takes a moment to notice someone on top of the roof of another building a little ways away. He watches curiously. The camera lingers on his face, and then we cut to Scully on that roof. She's calling Mulder, and I think this was Chris Carter's way of introducing the general public to these two characters in a very succinct way. How did you guys feel about that?
Mulder and Scully on the roof? Or
yeah, their phone call is very much, it's explaining who they are without explaining who they are. And it's snappy, and we kind of get a sense, I would imagine, as people who are general audience at this point in the theater, they would get an idea real quick of who each of these characters are.
I'd agree with that.
Did you feel that way?
Especially because this is the conundrum, right? You have to make a movie which appeals to both your core X-Files fan and to the general public who has no idea about the show and is just, they're in the theater and they see this as a choice and they go, oh, I've heard of that. I hear maybe this is good. We'll go and see. We'll give it a try. So how do you introduce everything about the show to them in a way which is, agnostic to having seen 5 seasons worth of show? So I think your take is absolutely right, that this is a way of introducing them. It's got something for everybody. Like it lets us know who these two are. It establishes that they've got rapport, but for your diehard fan, it also has some nice banter. It's witty and fun to listen to.
Very much so. Scully's dialogue is very much, why are we here? Here are the facts. The bomb threat was for the government building across the street, not this building. She rolls out the statistics of all bomb threats and the behavior of terrorists. They call in bomb threats to scare people and hurt people. They don't call in threats to one building and blow up another. On the other end of the line is Mulder ignoring protocol on a hunch and giving her the usual Mulder of, can't you just come along with me, Scully?
Yes.
My hunches are always correct up to this point, and you're still giving me guff.
I do wish I had the opportunity to sit somebody down in front of this movie who hadn't seen it before, because what you're saying, Mike, I do think that was part of the intent, right? Is to potentially introduce X-Files to a new audience, which is a huge ask for a movie that is also continuing, as Andrew said, 5 seasons, 100 and whatever episodes of, I mean, not all of it mythology, but a lot of stuff behind it that has to like make sense and yet be accessible to a new audience. And I don't have that perspective. And I guess I never really have talked to somebody who this was their first time ever seeing the X-Files. And I am very curious. I do think that this is, you get a pretty good sense of who these two are in the first 5 minutes.
Here's a good way to, I mean, you have to introduce the audience to them. And I thought it was a good way to do it.
I think it is. Okay, so I like this idea, and I like the perspective of the new X-Files movie watcher who hasn't seen the show.
Yeah,
would they have seen
the layman
Michaud? SAC Michaud as our hero, because we've had our inciting action, we've had our evil conspiracy dudes kind of come on the scene in North Texas, and now we've got what appears to be a hero. We've got law enforcement showing up on the scene, and I think I think Terry Quinn even strikes a hero pose when he's by that helicopter. So I feel like if we didn't know Mulder and Scully were going to be the ones, like you could have even had a nice fake out there by having the helicopter land and a foot step out. And you think, oh, this is Mulder coming out of the helicopter. And then you pan up and it's Michaud instead. Right. And maybe, a woman in pumps, and that's not Scully, but they decided not to do that. So yeah,
probably
interesting.
Better.
I'll have to think of people I know who haven't seen this and run that experiment, and I'll get back to you in 6 to 8 weeks with my
someone who's never seen the X-Files. That's an interesting ask this
yeah, it is.
So Mulder plays a quick joke on her by sneaking up on her and making his theatrical debut. He launches into the necessity to take into consideration unpredictability or expecting the unexpected. If we don't, we may find ourselves at the mercy of those things. Scully notes his disinterest in the case and drops some more exposition. The X-Files are closed. We have to follow procedure now. She goes to open the stairwell door, jiggles the handle, and says it's locked. Mulder gets momentarily worried and tries the door himself to find it unlocked. She has jokes too.
Ha ha ha.
Oh,
it's a cute moment.
This will come into play later. They bring it back at the end.
Yeah.
But whether or not it's successful, we'll debate. Inside the lobby of the building, a group of children are waiting for the elevator. Mulder and Scully flirt a little bit. He goes to grab them some soda, and as he enters the break room, a maintenance man exits. Mulder attempts to buy some pop, but is unsuccessful even though the machine is on. It's not responding. He shakes it and then checks the cable behind it. He's surprised and suddenly horrified to find it unplugged but somehow working. He looks at the machine in fear and rushes to the door to try to open it. He calls Scully in a panic. She thinks he's trying to get even with her when he states he has indeed found the bomb. But once she sees the doorknob keyhole has been welded, she springs into action like we've never seen before, and Gillian Anderson becomes a monster in this scene.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
This is fantastic. Gillian, as we've always wanted to.
That's right, taking charge.
She initiates what sounds like very good, proper procedure to evacuate the building. She tells the security guard at the front desk to make the necessary calls and get it done. Don't think, just do it. As she exits the front door to assumedly make more safety procedures happen, she calls to contact the SAC. Cop cars rush to the scene, and she informs Michaud Mulder is locked in with the bomb. We cut to Mulder sitting in the break room, quiet, staring at the bomb. He's watching the timer tick away. His phone rings and scares him a little bit.
Okay, can I just say that in the theater, when I saw that scared the shit out of me. The phone ringing like that.
Yeah, it's a nice jump scare,
I did not enjoy that.
Well, they said it really nicely, right? Because it's such a static shot. It's such a tense moment. You're emulating what he's feeling. And of course, it's his reaction's your reaction.
Yes.
Right. S.A. Michaud begins laser cutting the door. They knock it down and join Mulder. Michaud identifies it as one big IED. And I want to pause right here. Do you guys recognize the man kneeling on the left there? Next to Michaud?
I have to
Yeah, he's got to
get
find
back in. Hold on. Kneeling on the left next to me. Show. I don't have a good angle on this guy.
I guess next to Mulder.
Oh, next to Mulder. Hold on.
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah, I know he's another. He's next. He's
Is
alumni.
That's
that the
Jason-
Forest Ranger?
Jason
Oh.
Beggy.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is
From
his
Darkness
Oh,
Falls.
from Jersey Devil?
Yeah.
No shit.
No, isn't he from Darkness
Yeah.
Falls?
Yeah, he's the
Yeah, he's
Ranger.
the ranger
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, Darkness Falls. Okay.
He's the
Other
Wally,
Ranger.
I think they call him.
Not the asshole.
He's the nice guy. He's the guy we like.
He's
I didn't that was such a quick shot. I wouldn't have even
Yeah. He recovered. He joined the FBI, and then they act like they don't know
he
each
did
other.
make it out of the forest okay then. Okay.
I do also appreciate
spent-
Mashad. How do you say his name?
I think they say Michaud.
It's
That's
The sack.
kinda-
The sack.
The sack.
He clearly comes from like he's trained by like Star Trek bridge crew where like the captain has to do the shit himself. Like,
I know,
why
right?
are you holding a plasma cutter? You don't have a guy for that?
Well, he's also going to disarm the bomb, so I mean, he's versatile. He's a triple threat.
Get everyone out of here.
Mhm.
It's basically one big IED, he says. 10 gallons of astrolite. He commands everyone to leave the area. He claims he can defuse it, but when Mulder insists to stay, the SAC demands he get out. Activity around the building is exceedingly frantic. The children and everyone else are leaving. We cut back to Michaud just sitting and staring at the bomb, much like Mulder was. He looks a little defeated. Mulder and Scully rush out. He tries to go back in, but Scully orders him into a squad car. Michaud puts his face in his hands. The bomb explodes. I love that shot.
It was a great
number one.
shot.
That initial shot of the bomb going off, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, and him being decimated with it. It's pretty gross, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first like, oh shit
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
I think watching the movie of like, okay, we're throwing some different stuff. We got black oil. I kind of know what that is. We got government peeps rolling in. Okay, now they're doing this bomb squad thing. But then it's like when the guy in charge is sitting there awaiting his death and not trying to disarm it,
Mhm.
it was like, oh man, what is going on?
Well,
It is.
my take on that was I thought that this was a man who was, he was going to analyze the shit out of this situation and then make a move at the very last minute when he has examined all the variables and he now has decided this is the choice I'm going to make. But when he puts his head in his hands, that was like, it's not going to go that way, is it? We're going to have a big explosion.
I do remember too, this was not long after the Oklahoma
Mhm.
City bombing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that
Very
shot
much.
post-explosion, post their car getting thrown by the explosion, which was definitely gratuitous Hollywood. Like, okay, we didn't have to do that. You could have just gotten away. But that shot, looking back, I was like, man, that's fresh
Yeah.
in people's minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like maybe 3 years. Three
Yeah,
and a
wasn't
half or
that in
something like that?
94 or 95, the Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah.
know?
So this was fresh in everyone's
Yeah.
mind.
Do we know anything about how they did this shot? Like, was this a demolition that they used for the show?
No, it was this is actually what you're seeing as a composition from my understanding. That the building is like a 40-foot tall miniature.
Oh, wow.
And they built that, they blew it up, and then those actual I was listening to the commentary. Those pieces of paper you see flying, those are like the size of a stamp, they
Oh.
said.
Okay.
And they just make it looks awesome.
And you run it at
For-
slower motion to get the right
Mhm.
semblance of reality. But yeah, as a shot, it is amazing. And it is super Hollywood. I needed to have this.
This is that step,
Yeah.
this is the bigger, badder X-Files, I guess. The Hollywood X-Files.
It reminds me of, was it True Lies, where a nuclear bomb is exploded as part of the plot?
Yeah.
And it reminded me at
And
that
the
point,
keys.
it's like the bad guys get a win. And in this case, it is extreme. So that is the same kind of mentality here, except doing an A-bomb is a little bit more up the stakes, right? Because that's a very bad thing.
Well,
Quick random aside, but I live in a smallish city, 120,000 people. We have this old power plant that's being taken down. And they were filming a movie in our city. Tommy Lee Jones himself was there. and we heard they were going to demolish it as part of a movie explosion. And like it was like official because they were like hiring details to like do this whole thing. And then at the last minute, there was something with the demolitions company's like insurance coverage or their qualifications or whatever, and they scrapped it. I'm like, man, that's when you watch a movie and you see like a real explosion, you're like, how do they do that? And you're like, well, there's how you fuck it up. It's like you hire some company.
We know when that errors, or if it already has, that's fake. 100% fake.
That's right.
At least it's not that building.
It'll just be a close-up of Tommy Lee Jones' face, and they flash yellow light on it as he looks on in horror. It's like, I can't believe they just destroyed that building. Look at it crumble. He'll describe the experience to us. Before we go into the FBI, is this where I can? Is this where I can launch my treatise on?
I think
the bomb plot.
I think I subconsciously was tuning that out, and I just wanted to keep going with all this positive energy we got going.
Yeah.
Yes, Andrew. The floor recognizes Andrew and his bad opinions.
So I had, as I was watching this and I was into it, and then I had this moment of, but wait, hold on. And I had a couple of issues about this masterstroke plan that they had to cover up the deaths of a child and 3 firefighters from Blackwood.
But we don't know that yet.
Well, I know, but I mean, it is revealed to us. And I suppose they're counting on us to forget that this was what they chose as the plan. But all right, if we just go with the idea of the bomb in the building, disguising it as a drinks machine, first of all, like, could they have just put an out of order sign on it and then nobody would have messed with it to figure out that it doesn't work? And like, it's kind of ballsy just to stick it out in plain sight and expect that nobody's going to complain to the service, say, I couldn't get my Coke. What's going on with this thing? That is like, they could have thrown it.
I'm not impressed yet.
Okay, that's one. They could have thrown it in the basement and put it in a closet. And why have it light up at all? Like, I understand that this is a plot device to get Mulder in hot water and he has to solve the equation, whatever. So fine, that's fine. The evil henchman coming out of the vending machine room just before Mulder goes in, and he literally locks Mulder into the room with the bomb. Because Mulder can get in, and then we assume that he's the one that welds the door when he's in there. And it's not like he says, oh, I'm just going to fix the machine. You don't want to be here, whatever. He's legitimately locking him in there, knowing this is going to blow him up. So the days of Mulder's plot armor apparently are over, because 5 seasons they've gone with this whole notion of, oh, we can't kill him. He's too high profile. He's, we can turn him to our ends. You do whatever you want, but don't kill Mulder. They have gone to ridiculous lengths not to kill him. But now Crew Cut Man's like, I'm just going to weld this lock and you're going to blow up. Okay.
He might have just thought Mulder was an insurance salesman that works in the building. He kind of looks like one.
It's possible.
Maybe he doesn't know who Mulder is.
True.
It's possible. Well, I'll give you credit in that this guy, this maintenance worker, is the guy from the last episode of season 5.
Yes, he's Crew Cut Man.
So it's more likely that he has seen Mulder.
You're not helping me.
Invalid point. I have determined.
Okay.
I've molded over it.
So anyway, they now decide that he's...
Well, what's he going to do, though? Here's the problem. What's he going to do? Is he going to stop Mulder and give himself away by stopping him from going in there? Like, how would you fix that?
Don't lock the door. Let him leave. I mean, damn, I guess I'm locked in here.
Well, hold on. Let me unlock it.
I mean, I
suspicion's already thrown out.
Okay. Well... So
listen, easy for you to say, being a backseat driver in a international heist kind of conspiracy, you're the guy at the tip of the spear of the conspiracy. You got to make a snap decision. And you know what? Yep. It's sometimes like, it's hard. It's hard.
It is definitely a hard job. Well, the question then I would have is, in this masterstroke plan to, again, this is all about covering up the deaths of the firefighters and the boy with their alienized selves or whatever. Wouldn't you want them to burn up in the exploded building or something? But they kind of fuck that up too, because the bodies are perfectly intact for Scully to go an autopsy later. So like, what did this plan actually end up doing?
Blew up a big building.
It did blow up a big building.
It made a very cool shot.
It made an amazing shot. But I guess what I am overall getting at is who came up with this plan? This is why they had to get CSM back, clearly, because
right.
Like
they
there
suck?
is no direction. They suck.
They needed to pull out the big guns. And as we all know with the X-Files, they don't take the easy route to do things.
Well, no. And
why don't you just shoot these people instead of blackmailing them with
God damn it,
computer
Andrew, we got
files?
$66 million, and we're going to spend every fucking cent of it.
We are gonna-
okay? We're going to blow up that goddamn
Yes.
we're
building.
going to blow
I don't
the
wanna
shit
see
out of that building.
I don't want to see a fire, room and contents taking out a few guys in there. We were going to blow up the whole thing.
They're all gone.
We are going to shuttle these corpses to Dallas and blow them up there. We are not going to burn them up in Blackwood.
In an attempt at a real defense, I think a lot of it is Hollywood and plot contrivance, but the idea that not like the conspiracy isn't all reaching. It's powerful, but like it doesn't control every little detail. Like those bodies were brought there, they're in this isolated quarantine site, so it's a small, they can't just say like, oh, well, just move them out and do them here and burn them up here. Like, all right, well, they're there, they're known to be there, so we have to do something that's gonna fucking affect that.
Okay, but you're suggesting though that the syndicate did not have power over those bodies, that they got sort of taken away from.
You're really getting into the weeds.
Now,
Not
see,
comfortable.
this is what it's like, Josh. This is what I deal with every time.
What you're asking me to do is suspend my disbelief, sir.
Listen, some of those truck drivers were just subcontractors. Okay, they don't know. They just got hired to do a job.
The syndicate told them to bring them to the installation. They went to FEMA. It was all a mess up of paperwork, and then they had to blow up the building. That's really what came down to.
Listen, if there's anything believable, it's government fucking up things.
Amen,
So
bro. Yeah, I can get
there
that.
you go.
Very much.
Yep.
Very much.
I will believe it based on that excuse for sure. That there was this careful plan and it has been mismanaged through multiple layers
of bureaucracy.
Yeah,
that's it.
Are you okay now, Andrew? Are you good?
I have aired my grievances so far. I had more, but I actually pared it down for you all.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, that was quite the paring from what I saw.
Whoever came up with this bomb plan needs to be fired or at least given a refresher course on cover-ups.
Okay, so we are at the FBI. Scully is having a hearing about what happened. Skinner is on the board. A woman is heading the investigation. She claims that since major events of Waco and Ruby Ridge, there's a heightened need to place blame as quickly as possible when terrorist activities take place. It's nice to know that is the one thing they're concerned about here.
Mm-hmm.
They are at a standstill right now, unable to give a clear picture of what happened. 5 people died. Agent Michaud, a young boy, and 3 firemen. As she states these things, Mulder arrives and questions it. We were told the building was cleared. The woman heading the meeting ejects Mulder from the room. Out in the hall, he nibbles some sunflower seeds just so everyone gets full Mulder. Skinner comes out. They want to know why Scully was in the wrong building.
Me too.
He says she was with me.
What's that, Kerry?
We're
Do you
all
have a problem with the
wondering
plot?
Huh? What? Me? I think Mike is telling me to shush. So no, I have no problem.
No. Please, speak your mind.
I want to know why the hell they're in trouble for being in the other building when they saved hundreds of people's lives. I want to know that.
Amen, sister.
Well, okay, and I defended this a little bit on the spot to Andrew before we started recording. I believe at this point, the syndicate still is in charge of some things, and they're going to do what they can to fuck with Mulder and Scully.
But it doesn't even sound logical.
Whether or not... Well, it's the syndicate.
As we know, they're not good at cover-ups.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And bureaucracy is going to look to blame somebody.
They got to blame someone, and they were in the building when they shouldn't have been, so they were breaching protocol, number one.
By saving lives, yes.
And then they didn't by being in the wrong.
I think there's a whole school group of kids that got saved that they could take some pictures with and the kids and their parents would all be crying and how happy, and you saved our lives. Thank you, Mr. Mulder. And you don't get that scene, do we?
No.
If it makes everyone feel better, Mulder has a problem with them being blamed as well.
Well, he would, wouldn't he? He's the protagonist.
I'm sorry, go
I think
ahead,
I'm
Mike.
finding that the thesis statement of my defense, for whatever reason, I'm going to die on the hill of defending this movie, is
Thank you.
all going to focus around bureaucratic misfunction. So, yeah. So, something got blown up and somebody died. So they're just going to look to pin the blame on someone.
Look,
It is on brand with Chris Carter, who is pretty anti-government in his stance, although he does lump the government as one big giant organism that is out to get you, which as a former government employee, I can tell you there's just not that kind of drive.
I'm a current government employee and they don't do shit. Like,
So
Round us up, Mike. Get us back to the fight.
no, you're good. Scully comes out into the hall. She tells Skinner they want to see him, and she tells Mulder they've split them up. She has a meeting for reassignment coming up.
Whatever you told him in there, Scully, you don't have to protect me.
All I told him was the truth.
They're trying to divide us on this, and we can't let them.
Mulder, they have divided us. They're splitting us up.
What? What are you talking about?
I have a meeting with OPR day after tomorrow for remediation and reassignment.
They're the ones that put us together.
Because they wanted me to invalidate your investigations into the paranormal, but I think this goes deeper than that now.
This is not about you, Scully. They're doing this to me.
They're not doing this. Mulder, I left behind a career in medicine because I thought that I could make a difference at the FBI. But it hasn't turned out that way. And now if they were to transfer me to Omaha or Cleveland or some field office, it just doesn't hold the interest for me that it once did. Not after what I've seen and done.
You're quitting.
Maybe you should ask yourself if your heart's still in it, too.
She takes the opportunity to say they're not doing this to Mulder. He's doing it to himself. I think she's implying that. Because he was the one who breached protocol and kind of put them in this situation by doing so. Do you think that's what she's saying?
It's so petty to sort of take that tact, with the OPR to take this tact on them, because it's like, look at the bigger picture. Like, this is in the context of a terrorist attack. It's a huge win. They lost the building, but like, there could have been countless lives that died in this thing if not for the actions of one agent who had a hunch, but you could prop him up as a hero and say if anybody was out of line, it was Michaud for ordering them out when he could have brought in a better bomb squad or wheeled the friggin' drinks cart out. Like, there's all sorts of things they could have done, but anyway, yes, I have an issue with, as Kerry does, with why they decide to hang out Mulder and Scully to dry. But I guess that is the angle that the movie wants us to go.
That's what we're left with.
Right. They're like, no, I'm calling it the episode. It's the movie. The movie wants us to see them in peril, that their career is in peril because this went down this way. But I don't know. I'm not on board with it so far.
To your question, Mike, just on Scully's perspective, from a movie alone, it's a jump, but to anyone who's watched the show, this isn't exactly the first time, if we're going to say that Mulder has some responsibility for this, which obviously is a stretch, but he has certainly put her and her life and her career, and not just him, but like the X-Files, into jeopardy many times. So for her to be like, I'm kind of like about done with this, it isn't a crazy stretch.
No, absolutely not.
I actually did. I did buy her reaction. Like, and it was a nice, a new crisis that was not a building blowing up. And the crisis is, this is their partnership blowing up. She has reached a point where they have lost, they're being redeployed. And you know what? She doesn't have the fight left in her anymore. And in a way, that's a lot about what this movie is about her regaining, by almost getting killed again, her inertia towards...
Thanks to Mulder.
Yeah, thanks to Mulder. Regaining her inertia to continue the fight.
Mulder gets summoned in.
Hey, she gives him his jacket. That's a nice thing. Don't you shippers want to talk about that?
Oh, we have plenty to talk about at some point in the movie.
Dripping with shipper sauce, this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
There's a lot of fucking around. Mulder is getting drunk in the bar. The bartender is making light small talk with him and asks him what he does.
Oh, God.
And in another exposition drop to get the layman on board with what's going on.
But it's amazing. I love it.
It's a good drop.
It works. It's funny and it's good. It's played very well. But we get Mulder's entire backstory and the idea of what the X-Files is all about through his little tirade. She stops serving him, assuming he's over-intoxicated at this point. He goes to take a urination, and the room is occupied, so he finds a spot in the alley behind the bar. Suddenly, an older gentleman sneaks up on him and begins telling him about the bomb in Dallas. Somehow he knows Mulder was there. He's been watching his career, supposedly, and Mulder asks him why he came out there. And the man unzips his pants, and in a moment of panic, Mulder looks at the man, very scared. He also begins urinating, ladies and gentlemen.
It's worth noting that they are urinating on the Independence Day poster.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Apparently, Chris Carter, not a fan.
You don't say.
And they actually dropped a line in Independence Day where one of their characters, and it wasn't in the Independence Day script, so they ad-libbed it, where he says, "Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the X-Files too." You know, as a little ha-ha, little green men are out there, but so he didn't appreciate that so much.
The man who is joining Mulder in urination is Dr. Alvin Kurzweil, an old friend of his father's, he claims. Mulder blows him off and heads back into the bar. The man follows. He tells Mulder S.A.C. Michaud never tried or intended to disarm the bomb in Dallas.
And this is Martin Landau, it's worth noting. Like, he's
a
big name.
Big time actor.
He is our replacement Deep Throat character because obviously the movie can't function without somebody who's going to drop little info nuggets to Mulder.
Oh, yeah. We get a couple of those here.
He's a big name, but boy, does he come off creepy.
He totally does.
Really, really setting the stage for his pedophile accusations.
Right. It's not wholly unbelievable that he
Not
would be
at all.
on the line for this.
So I'm going to step back in defense of the movie, just catch us up to where we are, regardless of the questions Andrew has raised, and Kerry maybe as well. But from just, if you accept the shit that's been thrown out there, I think right now you have an interesting setup. You have the black oil stuff that only the audience has seen. Then you have this weird bomb threat, bombs in the different building. The guy doesn't try to disarm it. And then Mulder is told that Michaud never tried to disarm the bomb. That's aside from the plot strings you might question, that's an interesting setup, I will say, at this point.
It is. And I just want to clarify that I love this movie. And that was the only thing. And before we started recording, that was something that I asked Andrew and Mike, and I said I don't want to sound like an asshole on the recording, but I didn't understand why they were in trouble. To which, then I was told that Andrew didn't understand it either, so I didn't feel as bad.
But Mike said, "Stop questioning the movie. The movie is great. Stop questioning
the movie." No,
but I have a great affection for the movie, and I've seen it far too many times that I don't even want to admit. But yeah, that's the only plot thread that I had a huge problem with because I didn't understand it.
In either way we do look at it, I mean, there are questions that you can raise, as Andrew has done for sure. I think I'm still on board. Like, even when I first saw it, if you don't try to pick everything apart, Andrew, I think you can have a good time.
Well, and I think I even said this, like, the movie moves fast enough that if you don't reflect, frankly, if you don't watch it a second time, I think it does hang pretty well together because you literally don't have the time to reflect on what has happened and why it's happened. they keep on throwing new information at you so that you are constantly adjusting and catching up. And that's its strength, is by the end, you're just overwhelmed, and you do exit going, that was a full-on experience. So, I mean, as a roller coaster, it works. But on the rewatch, you start putting these things together and going, well, wait a second, why are they doing that? And why didn't they just do this other thing? And sometimes the strength of the X-Files is the writers anticipating those questions and answering them for you. And they do it in this movie. They do it once, and I have to give it credit for that. But, when the obvious answer is just decimate the town of Blackwood, as opposed to this whole charade of destroying a building, then you realize, okay, they've done this so they can integrate it into Mulder and Scully and allow them to come into it. So, I mean, it's not easy, and I couldn't say I would do any better. I have to say, this is a tough job they have given themselves, and for the task, they do quite well, because, again, how do you make it so that the diehard fans of the series will enjoy it as much as people that do not know it? And so for the task, I think they succeed. I'm only nitpicking it because I love it.
Aww.
As a mundane
All
defense
right.
to try to bring Kerry back in, just imagine, lives were saved, but if you're the mayor or the governor, one of our fucking buildings blew up and you knew there was a bomb threat, they're not going to get that nitpicky about like, well, yeah, but they also save people, like whatever. There's still going to be enough pressure of like, you knew there was a bomb threat and a building still exploded. I can imagine with a little nudge from the background of the syndicate, like somebody's coming down on somebody.
I agree.
That's fair.
Good
I agree.
Why'd you
points.
find me?
I heard you come in here now and again. Figured you'd be needing a little drinky tonight.
You a reporter?
I'm a doctor, but I think I mentioned that. OBGYN.
You got something to tell me? You got as much time as it takes for me to hail a cab.
There's something you don't know about the bombing in Dallas.
What's that?
SAC Darius Michaud never tried or intended to defuse that bomb.
I just let it explode in his face, huh?
What's the question no one's asking? Why that building? Why not the federal building?
The federal building was too well guarded.
No. They put the bomb in the building across the street because it did have federal offices there. The Federal Emergency Management Agency had a provisional medical quarantine office there, which is where the bodies were found. But that's the thing you didn't know, the thing you'd never think to check. Those people were already dead.
Before the bomb went off.
That's what I'm saying.
Darius Michaud was a 22-year veteran of the Bureau.
Michaud was a patriot. The people he was loyal to know their way around Dallas. They blew that building to hide something, maybe even something they couldn't predict.
You're telling me they blew up that entire building just to hide the bodies of those firemen?
And one little boy.
I think you're full of shit.
So Mulder gets in a cab, dismissively of Kurzweil, but as moments pass, he rethinks it, and he heads to Scully's in Georgetown. Scully's apartment.
Shipper
banging at her door.
sauce.
Yeah, she's laying in bed awake.
This reminds me of the end of season 5. She literally is woken up by a phone call. Oh, wait, is it the end of season 1? Anyway, it's the end of some season where they get, she's in bed and she wakes up and it's
The Earl and
Mulder
Myers
saying
last,
they're
as
shutting
we
us
just
down.
did.
Yeah, it is the end of season 1. Didn't help he did both season enders in the same night. And I was almost looking at it going, did they use the same shot? Like if it's from the season 5 ender, because it just reminded me so much of that shot. She's awakened by, an intervention from Mulder. But
He shows up, he tells her to get dressed, they have to go somewhere, and he will explain on the way.
I'm sorry, Mike. There's one line in this that I really like when she asks him if he's drunk, and he was drunk about 20 minutes ago, but was that before or after he decided to go there?
What exactly are you implying?
I just like
then
that
he
exchange.
wanted to get to know you better. You know what I'm saying?
It's a great answer to the state trooper who pulls you over. You drunk? Well, I was until about 20 minutes ago.
That's awesome.
I do love the shot of the 2 helicopters coming in through the moon, that giant ass moon. I mean, that must be a composite because
I was astonished to learn, not that the moon was fake, but that the whole thing's fake. Those helicopters are fake too.
what, they're like remote control helicopters?
No, it's all computer.
No.
That's what they said. I listened to the commentary. I'm just going by that.
And they said that those are...
He said there's nothing real in that shot.
That's crazy.
Okay.
They actually made a note of it because that's what.
Well,
they do.
maybe the helicopters are filmed and then they have composed it over top of the moon. But I would have a hard time believing, even in the 98, that you'd have a convincing CGI helicopter.
It is nighttime.
A nighttime obscures all the digital artistry.
Obscures. The dig site is now an elaborate set of quarantine tents. As Andrew has pointed out, 2 helicopters arrive, and we see a lanky man get out. It is indeed CSM. He makes his grand entrance with a cigarette. He enters one of the tents, the one with the hole that the boy fell through. The man from the beginning comes out. He has a hazmat suit on, and we can see pipes behind them pumping out the black oil from the site. CSM greets him. Inside the hole, they've turned the cave into a sort of laboratory. He's informing CSM of any progress, and the atmosphere is freezing to control the development of this new creature that they've come across. They're not sure, but the creature seems to gestate faster in heat. He pulls the curtain back to show CSM just what's going on, and even he is astonished. The man is technically alive, but he's essentially see-through. He's being devoured from the inside out, essentially, and the organism within is growing. He doesn't want it destroyed. We need to try the vaccine on it. If it's unsuccessful, then you can burn it.
Like the others.
How did you guys feel about this change in the X-Files plot? Because now the black oil is doing some new things. How did you? How is it striking you?
Well, now I have to be the critical
Andrew?
one, if I can.
Yeah.
My biggest problem, and why I always, even with early X-Files mythology, I always come into it with a bad taste, is that I know the end result is something that is not planned for. And when you look back, it's just not consistent. So watching the movie, it's fine, it's cool, it's dramatic, it's a great development. But from like an X-Files mythology sense, it doesn't really make sense because we've seen the black oil before and it doesn't do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this is different. This is different black oil, Josh. This is Texas black oil.
That's okay.
They do things
Texas
different in Texas. I understand.
I guess, I mean, there is an explanation given, but my hang up with the X-Files is always on that, is always looking back from where it goes. And that's where I get hung up of like, yeah, really though? Like, okay, sure, you tell me it's a mutation, but like, man, I don't think you planned for that because I know you didn't. Mm-hmm. Like George Lucas talking about Star Wars arc. Yeah. I know you didn't have that plan.
I know none of this was written.
They said that you could do a sequel, so you came up with 3, 6, 9 movies. Sure, okay.
But in the movie, I think it works.
To your point, I think it's kind of extenuation of what I was saying about how the movie works, and that it keeps on throwing new information at you and you're constantly playing catch up. You could look at that writ large for the entire series and say, they keep on throwing new information at you and you have to keep catching up to a point where season 5 comes along. You're like, well, wait a second. We've had 3 seasons already of telling us about these aliens and the colonists and all the rest of it. And you're trying to keep it straight in your head. And then, like you say, it does this curveball of like, wait a second, the oil does something new now. I think it's a combination of doing something new and big for non-fans and fans alike. Yeah, I on the whole, I didn't mind this scene. I would have liked to see cigarette smoking man smoking a cigarette in his hazmat suit, though. That's the only thing I'm missing.
I think
he's just got a little slot.
I think he's the first person I've ever seen successfully light up a cigarette in front of a helicopter that is on.
I did not.
I wanted to bring that up.
I wanted to as well, but I didn't want to be seen as too nitpicky.
I just laugh every time I see
it. Did it.
He's such a badass. He can do it. I think he has a butane lighter. I think that's how it works because those things burn, baby.
He can light a cigarette wherever he wants.
Yeah, he's the devil.
From here, we go to Bethesda Naval Hospital. Mulder and Scully arrive to visit the morgue, and he does some mental jujitsu on the security officer. So they enter unhindered.
I'm in the military. I'm an idiot. Oh. Yeah. That's how we like to get written.
It's so good. You
Okay,
know,
I'll check the authorization. Bye, sir.
you
awesome.
you do that, soldier. I think this is a real validation of the number of episodes they have had where they get nailed, trying to go into an installation where they didn't have permission to get in, or they're caught out later on. Like, this is them having learned, or Mulder having learned how to do this and how to throw the whammy at somebody.
So they make their way down to the morgue. They're looking for a cause of death on the bodies. Scully displays subpar level of being a doctor by employing the same method she learned 5 years ago in Shadows. Just check the toe tag. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
Well, my favorite part, and I think the pandemic has just made us all very aware of masks, but my favorite part is when they, Mulder opens up the body bag on this thing and they look at this guy. The first thing I'm thinking
Proper
is
procedures.
hazmat suit. What?
He doesn't even have gloves on.
No, it's
At the very least, my arm would be over my face at this point if I saw that.
You got to figure he's not that much of an idiot to say, when she said, organ failure, this, that, and the other thing, does that match the description? Yes, motherfucker, it does. He turns to jelly because of concussive organ failure.
yeah.
Imagine being like sitting there with somebody who's never seen the show, and you turn to them and you're like, "Wait, did Mulder just tell her to do an autopsy and then leave her alone there?" And the person who's seen the show be like, "Oh yeah, no, that's that."
Oh,
yeah,
you
that's
get
fine."
used to it.
Yeah,
It happens.
She brought her own tools. She got them in her little purse.
Well, he convinces her to examine the body. They're being blamed for this person's death, and he wants to know what happened. Out on the Washington streets, Mulder is, of course, leaving Scully. He caught a cab to Kurzweil's apartment. To his surprise, it is being searched by local law enforcement. They ask why he's there, and he tells a little joke about a pelvic exam. But Kurzweil is being investigated under suspicion of child pornography on his computer. Mulder leaves because obviously he's not impressed with what's happening here. It is a setup. He finds Kurzweil in an alley. Not exactly the best hiding spot.
Right next to your
for
building.
someone who's having their right next to your apartment that's being searched. But yeah, he says they're trying to discredit him.
I'm trying to remember. Have I seen that cop somewhere before?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
He's definitely like a cop character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like he's on
I
one
mean,
of those shows.
as far as the show, I don't think this show.
Oh, he was on NYPD Blue. That's why. He's one of the captains. So yeah, definitely a cop character. Sorry, I was allowing you to exercise your superpower, and
No, I appreciate it. Mulder's a little bit frustrated. How were you right about Dallas? And Kurzweil informs him about speculations and FEMA's true power. He says the plague to end all plagues will be released upon the public. Men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon with, I think you know. It's important to understand that Mulder technically is still a little on the fence about aliens, but, we never got quite the full resolution of that in season 5. So he's not completely convinced right now. Kurzweil says it will happen during a holiday while people are away from their homes. A state of emergency. He tells Mulder, urges him to go back to Dallas and dig for it before it's too late.
I have a question.
Yes,
Again, the master stroke planning of this, when it's a holiday, don't people tend to go home for the holidays?
Yeah, but there's only one home and everyone's got to come to it for every family. So
Right.
more people will be away from their homes.
Your
Logic.
logic is super sound. I like it.
It's airtight. It's airtight.
It sounds like it's such a great line, but then it's one of those ones on reflection. I'm like, but wait, don't people go home for the holidays? What holiday do you take where you go away from your home? Is it
Memorial Day.
football? Yeah, you're all down at the stadium. I don't know.
Scully's doing her work at doing an autopsy. Suddenly, some soldiers are headed her way. She quickly hides in the freezer, and of course, it's at this moment that Mulder decides to call her. She states she found a massive infection. She doesn't know what it is. He says he's booking a flight back to Dallas, and he needs her there. At the Dallas field office, Mulder asks to see the remains of the explosion, any remains they have. The agent in charge states they did find some bone fragments, but they came from an archaeological dig outside of town, so he's not sure how useful they're going to be. And of course, Scully arrives just in time, even though she's got the meeting that she has to be back for. She's saving Mulder once again. He has her examine the bones from the dig, and we can see almost as soon as she puts her eyes to the microscope, she recognizes what's going on here.
Well, at least somebody knows what's going on in the plot.
You're awful. Are you sure you're a fan?
That is harsh. That is harsh.
So to me, this is a good show to movie transition of stuff that works. Like Scully in the lab, people, government people showing up there. Those are stakes, but they're stakes that are believable. Like, okay, we know Scully and Mulder aren't going to get killed, but like, it's also conceivable that Scully's going to get caught here. So those are like believable stakes. And then going to the field office and Scully showing up and having that like classic scientific Scully realization. Like those were transition points, like show to movie that like definitely worked for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like this is where they feel most comfortable, is when they put Scully and Mulder in their traditional roles of, skeptic and believer, and allow them to flex their skills. Yeah, it works.
Good stuff. Well, Mulder and Scully ask where they found these and or where they came from, and the agent in charge points them to a dig site. Well, back in Dallas at the dig site, Braunschweig is preparing to go give the vaccine to the patient. He heads down in his hazmat suit. He pulls the curtain back. To his horror, he sees a body with an exposed chest cavity, and the creature inside is missing. Uh-oh. He calls for help, but as he goes to the ladder, he catches a glimpse of something in the distance. It is indeed the alien. It rushes at him, attacks him. They engage a little bit. He manages to stick it with the vaccine. It screams and runs off. When he comes back to the ladder, he is visibly injured. He asks for more help, and the scientists kind of look at each other and then remove the ladder in another horrifying scene.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's
they
really...
seal him up and put dirt over the top of it and leave him to die.
I hate it. It's horrifying.
Wow. That was tough to watch in the theater.
Yeah.
I think I was 14 and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Talk about some true fears coming to pass here.
Well, my favorite moment in that was when he whips off his hazmat hat. It's like, why are you wearing it then? If I recognize that it's impeding your field of vision, but it's like, are you now just, well, I guess it's not like they had an airlock sealing it off, right? He just walks down on the set of ladder and he's there, right? So it's not like they're sealing off the environment. But what is the point of that hazmat suit if you're just going to whip it off when you are the least bit threatened by an alien creature?
At least somebody's wearing a hazmat
I think his threat
suit.
level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think his threat level escalated from like, I might get goo on me to something just burst out of this and it might maul me.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm gonna go for visibility over protection.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
They're
gotta have all your senses.
They are definitely playing major homage to Alien, the movie here.
Very much
and
so.
And later on, we'll be paying it to Aliens. But in this case, we have the old.
For not seeing that movie.
Listen, I am waiting for the day that we will all watch that together because I think that will.
Have you not seen either, Kerry?
No.
Mm-mm.
God damn it!
God.
Pause this podcast. Do 2 podcasts on Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
Look, I've never, and I'm gonna get shit for this, but it's fine. I've never seen Star Wars. I've never seen Star Trek. I've never seen Aliens. Any of the movies that you guys are referring to, I have never seen them. Ever. How I got interested in the X-Files is beyond me. It's the body horror stuff. It creeps me out.
And it leans
good thing there's none of that here.
Yeah, it leans in heavy to body horror and Alien for sure.
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
But yes, I do love this scene. I'm wondering about the injection of the vaccine into the alien, like that's done here, I suppose, to make it, him a little heroic and that he's able to do the thing that he has set out to do, but it doesn't it doesn't ever amount to anything because they seal him in his tomb.
Yeah, I think we're just supposed to draw our own conclusion at that point. I think the vaccine would essentially kill this creature, and we're just supposed to believe that's what's happened because, again, like you said, they sealed it down here. So
yeah,
nothing will become of him.
Yeah,
supposedly
he is not coming back for the sequel. Although I say that, and friggin' Alex Krycek, you thought that was the end of him at the end of, when they lock him up in a alien bunker, and
yeah,
sure enough, he comes back.
Different black oil.
We cut to the county of Somerset. The well-manicured man is watching children play in his yard. He's called away by a phone call. CSM is calling an assembly in London. A man named Strughold has called this meeting. We've never met him, but I believe they actually alluded to his existence in season 2. So that's something, take from it what you will. Later on, well-manicured man arrives at the Syndicate little meeting point. We see all the familiar faces, and they're watching the surveillance tapes of the naval hospital.
Can I just say that this whole setup of the well-manicured man watching his children, like this is where we find him. Is that to make us? Is that to soften us to him, like to view him as a kinder, gentler Syndicate member? Even though he's done some shit. I think
by the end of the movie, yes. I think it's pointing us towards his eventual turn in this movie. He's becoming a little bit disheartened with the methods of the Syndicate, and especially after this next scene here, he doesn't feel quite as an insider as he once did, I think. Because as they explain in the scene, they've already pretty much come to a conclusion before he arrived. Right. On what they're going to do, the steps they're going to take.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's fully effective, but I do think that the effort is to show him somewhat sympathetically, but also his perspective shifting onto his children, his grandchildren. The people in his life, the generations that follow, versus just this overarching thing. Conspiracy, whatever they have going, if he feels that it's threatening that.
Mike, do you know where they filmed this?
That's the goal?
Was it because it's?
This was actually in London.
Was it?
They flew out here for one day to get that establishing shot of him pulling up.
Yeah. Begin to worry. Some of us have traveled so far, and you were the last to arrive.
I'm sorry, my grandson fell and broke his leg.
While we've been made to wait, we watched surveillance tapes, which have raised more concerns.
More concerns than what?
We've been forced to reassess our role in colonization by new facts of biology which have presented themselves.
The virus has mutated.
Into what?
A new extraterrestrial biological entity.
My God.
The geometry of mass infection presents certain conceptual re-evaluations for us about our place in their colonization.
This isn't colonization. This is spontaneous repopulation. All our work, if it's true, they've been using us all along. We've been laboring under a lie.
It could be an isolated case.
How can we know?
We are going to tell them what we found, what we've learned, by turning over a body infected with the gestating organism.
In hope of what? Learning that it's true? That we are nothing but digestives for the creation of a new race of alien life forms? By cooperating now, we are but beggars to our own demise.
Cooperation is the only chance of saving ourselves.
They still need us to carry out their preparations.
We'll continue to use them as they do us, if only to play for more time to continue work on our vaccine.
My lateness might just as well have been absence. A course has already been taken.
There are complications. Mulder saw one of the infected bodies that we destroyed in Dallas. He's gone back there again. Someone has tipped him.
Who?
Kurzweil, we think.
No one believes Kurzweil. Or his books. He's a toiler, a crank.
Mulder believes him.
Then Kurzweil must be removed.
Yes, must, Mulder.
Kill Mulder. We take the risk of turning one man's quest into a crusade.
Then you must take away what he holds most valuable. That with which he can't live without.
in a nice subtle cut, after they tell him they're going to take away that which Mulder finds that he cannot live without, it cuts to Scully immediately, and we can put that one together. They are at the community where the dig site happened. Everything is gone, but they spot a brand new swing set in the middle of the desert.
Sir. We got Strughold leaning in heavy to diabolical villain man when he says, "We will take away that which he considers most dear," and so he's got a plan to heist away Scully, but it kind of relies on a bee sting that she's going to accidentally get. So
yeah,
he's very good at planning.
That's his bee, buddy. That's his personal bee that gets it.
Yeah.
It's the only, I will say, because this is going to come up for the rest of the movie, the only possible explanation for how this is going to continue is that one individual bee has been tasked with this.
Yes.
Because
he's got his orders and he's going to execute his orders.
It's Quiet Willie the Bee reincarnated. And he has to bide his time for the exact right moment.
Yeah, but that would be a really
crew
slow
cut bee.
Quiet Willie was slow as shit.
Yeah.
That's the crew cut bee. He is part of the syndicate. You don't see him, but he's there in the meeting. He's in the background, quietly, chiming in.
Bee gets a cell phone call. Yeah.
Our agents are now at the community where the dig site happened. Everything is gone, and Mulder spots a brand new swing set in the middle of the desert, maybe 100 yards away from the community. Very odd. It looks like someone's covering their tracks. They spot a group of boys from the beginning.
Hey. Hey.
You boys live around here?
Yeah,
You seen anybody digging over there?
we're not supposed to talk about it.
You're not supposed to talk about it. Who told you that?
Nobody.
Nobody? Same nobody to build that playground? Nobody buy you those new bikes, too?
I think you better tell us.
We don't even know you.
Well, we're FBI agents.
You're not FBI agents.
How do you know?
Because y'all look like door-to-door salesmen.
Hey, you want to buy a badge?
They all left an hour ago. Going that way.
They point the agents into a certain direction. They get back in their car and they begin driving.
Okay.
Right.
So these are the same syndicate guys which blew up a federal building to hide their corpses.
Mm-hmm.
And
the carrot and the stick, my friend. The carrot and the stick.
Exactly. It's like, but we can't do. Listen, I grew up in Blackwood. I can't just level that place. That is clearly what's happening here.
This is the same syndicate that killed a doctor's entire family in Erlenmeyer Flask just because she may have talked to them.
Inoculated a group of school children in 1987 with the alien DNA just to see what would happen. I mean, clearly, I think that whoever is in charge of the Blackwood operation is partial to that town because it's like, guys, do we have anything in the budget for some new bikes? I think this is the solution here.
Maybe they just like kids, except Stevie, because he's fucked.
Stevie's
But
fucked.
otherwise,
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just like kids.
Yeah.
We can't just kill them.
We can't just kill them.
In that regard, okay, maybe we just answered our own question. The whole town knows something happened. So if they just off 3 kids, they would have to incinerate the entire community at that point.
How many people do you think were in that FEMA building?
I'm just saying. It's going to look a little bit different if an entire town is wiped off the map.
I don't know. Heard bad things about that hantavirus.
That's true. So Mulder and Scully, of course, begin driving where they don't know, but they're looking for unmarked tanker trucks. They come to a T. They have differing opinions on which way to go, and Mulder decides to go straight.
It's a cool bit of business, and I have to admit, I do like the banter in the car because that has been a scene in a lot of episodes, them driving and catching up on the plot in the car.
Yeah.
So this is a good return to form. as well. I do dig it. And the fact that, they have a choice to make left or right. I mean, we're roughly halfway through the movie, so it's a nice little bit of business of like, where's the plot going to go now? Is it going to go left? It's going to go right? No, fuckers, it's going to go straight ahead.
Much to Scully's dismay, it is now nighttime, and they're still driving. And sure enough, they come to a dead end. Mulder here says that the virus they're hauling in these tanker trucks may be extraterrestrial, and Scully is not happy about that. She thought they were past this. Mulder, I've spent the last 5 years trying to get you on to the straight and narrow, but no.
I would have enjoyed a "are you fucking kidding me" moment right here.
There is a take.
I was going to wait to ask this question, but maybe I can ask it now. Mulder drops an F-bomb.
Yes.
At the end of the movie. And I was going to ask you guys, if you had one F-bomb to drop in this movie, where would you drop it? So you don't have to answer right now, but I'm going to ask that later.
Yeah.
So, because Kerry just kind of queued me up thinking about it.
Well, I noted it earlier. They get to swear because they're on the big screen and it's PG, so you do get an allotment of swear words apparently. But
one fuck.
One fuck.
You get one fuck.
One fuck only, please.
But they I forget what he said. It's like, I wish I had the transcript in front of me, but he drop a swear word, and I was like, "Oh,
he drops.
We're not on
it's
TV
shit
anymore,
when,
are
when
we?"
He's falling.
He said shit.
Yeah,
which is I like that because it's pretty funny. But yeah, apparently there was a take where Scully actually cusses him out here, but they didn't use it.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
As they are
here it is. Basically, I've been waiting the whole movie for this.
Before she can even formulate a thought about Mulder telling her it's extraterrestrial, the railroad starts dinging, and sure enough, a train comes by. First few cars are fine, and then suddenly they see 2 or 3 white blank tankers pass by. So they hop in the car and chase the train. They head up a hill on the road as the train heads into a tunnel. They get out and see in the distance 2 glowing white bubbles in the middle of nowhere. The train heading in the distance. They make their way down. Surrounding the bubbles are corn crops. Mulder makes a Jiffy Pop popper joke. And they're actually enormous.
Yeah.
They hear humming from outside the bubbles and head into one of them. They're pressurized with airlocks. And inside it's very bland. Fans are on the far wall and above them. The ground is metal with square panels on either side. And they posit that it looks like a venting system. Mulder keys in on the humming and presses his ear against the floor. Then he realizes something. Just as he does, he tells her to run. And the panels begin to open, letting out millions of bees. Oh boy.
I think there's an argument to be made that there is, in fact, an agent, a bee agent in the syndicate.
Yeah, if you pause right here on Amazon, you'll see in the credits Crew Cut B.
Yeah.
Crew Cut B is in this scene.
And he's played by Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes.
This is before he got into B movie.
This was his inspiration for that movie.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a B-quel.
Hey.
Oh. You have a place among us, sir. Kindred spirit of the puns. I love it.
Love puns.
This bit of business with the bees stuck out for me. I mean, this is not. I mean, we haven't covered season 3 or 4 where I think this comes up, right? Like they have a. Mm-hmm. I know they have a whole bit of business with bees and
season 4
cornfields and such. So they're retrotting the same ground a bit here, but is the takeaway that they're going to take the alien virus and put it into bees as a delivery system to humans? Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
It's pretty ambitious, isn't it?
Is it the virus or is it their efforts to work on the vaccine?
It's never fully explained, but I believe it is the virus because, as we might discuss towards the end, my interpretation of the syndicate and everything they have, the stakes they're working under, it's about their own ass. So I don't think that their vaccine is meant to be for everyone. It is up to interpretation because they don't outright say no one else will ever see this and the human race is fucked except for us 20 people. But
Well, you wouldn't use bees to distribute it then because that is so untargeted.
the bees are to release the black oil stuff to crops because bees pollinate that whole thing and get it out to the people to pave the way for the aliens. I think that's the idea.
So this is a bad guy plot. This is the colonist plot.
Yes. The bee aspect of the X-Files is the bad guy plot. That's my understanding.
Okay. I feel like Josh is trying to say something and he's trying to look for his moment.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it through because I'm trying to remember what's revealed up till now, what gets revealed later, because it does get very convoluted. I think it is about distributing the virus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, or I don't know if it's even ever clear how it is, because obviously it's about the pollination. I don't think it's about the bees stinging people. It's about pollinating these crops and then generating something from the crops, the corn oil or whatever the fuck. But that's, and I will say, again, if you shut your mind off a little bit, it looks fucking dope.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool set.
Yep.
Cool scene. Mike, does the next part of your notes have 7 minutes of
Scully!
Mulder!
Yeah.
Mulder!
Yeah, pretty much.
Talk to me, Scully! Scully! Damn it! Scully! 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 Scully!
Mulder!
Scully!
Mulder!
Can you hear me?
Mulder!
Scully! Scully! Scully!
Mulder!
Scully! Scully! Talk to me!
Mulder!
We get our quota for the show in this
Yeah.
movie here. They had to fit that in somewhere. So yes.
Did we not begin with her on the phone with him saying, Mulder, where are you? Because that is also a thing.
Mulder, it's me.
William Mulder, it's me. Yep.
Yeah.
Mulder, where are you? Mulder, where did you go? Mulder.
So the agents escape from the bubble, and before they can compose themselves, 2 black helicopters show up and chase them into the cornfields. And as Josh aptly said, we get our quota of Mulder and Scully yelling for each other.
Scully!
As fast as they came, the choppers disappear. Mulder and Scully find each other and escape. They rush to their car.
There has to be a bitch running through cornfields like that.
I am to understand Jillian actually injured her eyeball during this scene. She had to stop filming for a while.
That's not funny, but oh man.
I had to hurt.
Can I just say
No.
Yeah.
Did it hit her in the eye stalk?
What a corny
Just
scene.
trying to fit in.
Boy.
The helicopter chase makes zero sense because it's like they're getting chased by helicopters and it's like, what, you going to shine your light on me? Are you going to land and get out? Like,
Don't they have like gunners in helicopters?
Well,
not
$66 million, Andrew. Every fucking cent we're spending. Did you not hear me?
I just say put some dudes on the ground and it gets about a lot more believable. But this whole business of them running,
really cool.
It's about looking cool. All right.
Well, they do have red lights in the helicopters, so they must have spent at least $20 on those.
I don't think I like
Somebody
your
hit
attitude.
Andrew.
I was just laughing during this chase scene because it's like, oh no, the helicopter's shining its light at me. Oh no.
I like the way it looks. Damn it.
Okay. I'm glad that somebody is appreciating this scene. And you were
Guess they don't
probably
play fucking flashlight tag in Canada. So let's move on.
They had their best
Our
laser
national pastime.
lightsabers on them.
Oh, God. So they escape. Scully is back. It's morning. She's late for her meeting. She brings in evidence from Dallas, and the panel is surprised she even went back. We cut to Mulder talking to Kurtz while Scully is accusing Agent Michaud of letting the bomb explode in his face. Intercut with this, Mulder is talking to Kurtz while he's telling him of the bees and the corn crops. We see the bee, yes, the bee, on her collar, and we get suspenseful music. We know something's about to happen. We just don't know when. Mulder posits the theory that bees are meant to carry a virus, and Kurzweil says that would be my guess. Mulder's taken aback a bit. Your guess? He gets angry and yells at him, telling him he's been risking his life and his partner's life. You're using us to gather info for your goddamn books. Kurzweil hurries off. Mulder clocks someone above them listening to their conversation. Later that night in Mulder's apartment, he flips through some photo albums and sees an old picture of Kurzweil with his family. Scully comes in. She looks a little sad. She's been transferred to Salt Lake City. She handed Skinner her resignation already. Mulder's angry. He says, "We're on the verge, Scully." She leaves after saying goodbye, and Mulder here chases her out and makes her one last plea.
You want to tell yourself that so you can quit with a clear conscience? You can, but you're wrong.
Why did they assign me to you in the first place, Mulder? To debunk your work, to rein you in, to shut you down.
But you saved me. As difficult and as frustrating as it's been sometimes, your goddamn strict rationalism and science have saved me 1,000 times over. You kept me honest. You made me a whole person. I owe you everything. Scully, and you owe me nothing.
He doesn't think he can do this without her. And if he quits now, they win. They hug, and she kisses him on the forehead. Oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tender moment.
Oh, shipper time.
Shipper
Shipper
time.
sauce.
They take a moment, and suddenly they start leaning in for a kiss, and just as their lips almost connect, Scully is stung. She finds a bee on the back of her neck. Immediately, she notices an issue and starts reciting what's happening to her body. She knows she's going down. She's got labored breathing, pain in her chest. Her pulse is thready. Mulder immediately rushes to call 911. They have an agent down, but please take your time because I'm about to do it with her.
I'm not going to let this anaphylactic shock rob me of my one good chance.
We're right here, man. Just give me a minute.
Scully, you're fine. Scully, you're fine. Slap, slap, slap. Scully.
Injector with what? Injector with what? No, I
got you. Oh, man. As the paramedics arrive, he tries to talk to them. He tells them what's going on, but everything's moving so fast he can barely get a word in. They load her up. He runs to the driver to ask which hospital she's going to. And sure enough, it's the maintenance worker from the beginning of the movie.
Great continuity. The only guy willing to kill Mulder in the city.
Yes, that's right. Very true.
Touche, Andrew.
Yeah, he's got a grudge against Mulder for some reason.
He's a rogue agent.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you, cigarette smoking man. This guy, I know the solution. We'll just kill him.
I don't know what you're talking about when you say we can't kill this guy. I can definitely fucking kill this guy. He doesn't have any friends. I've had to follow him for 5 years. He's got no friends, no family. Nobody gives a shit about him. Just let me kill this guy.
Even his employer would like to see him gone.
That plan you had to make him go crazy by putting shit in his water softener, that didn't work.
If only I knew how to roll down my window before shooting.
That was going to be my next question. Why did he shoot through the glass?
That would have made a much better scene. It just... We're
going to St. Gunnacles. Boom.
Or the rest of the ride with him with his ears just fucking ringing, unable to hear anything as he fired a gun in a closed compartment.
Oh my God, that was the
He
best.
makes sacrifices for his job.
Stupid choices.
Okay, so Mulder goes down. He's in the street. The ambulance drives off, and the real ambulance comes in.
I think that he's actually a very good shot.
He is a very
meant
good shot.
to wound. Yeah.
I'm going to shoot you in the head and make sure you don't die.
I think we need, before we move on, I think we need to talk about the almost kiss that was heard around the world.
Yes.
And why they chose to include that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty straightforward, I think, but I know some people probably want to, delve.
Yeah.
Mike, Kerry, could you go ahead and point your microphones down your crotches while you discuss what the scene means to you?
I want to be very clear here. I'm not a typical shipper who thinks everything means something and everything has to happen. I'm just having fun.
You need to clarify that.
I feel like I'm being lumped together with people who they just can't imagine life without Mulder and Scully together.
would you like to take a short survey to determine how much of a shipper you are?
Sure.
Have you ever written any fan
No.
fiction involving Mulder and Scully?
No.
Have you ever sent a note to somebody else referencing their relationship as a substitute for your own?
No.
Have you ever called your partner either Mulder or Scully, depending on the subtext? Oh, maybe.
I'm trying to understand. Like,
that's a long pause.
I answered before the long pause.
For the audience, can I cut in here? Before we went live on the recording, you referenced your relationship with your fellow hosts in the relationship to Mulder and Scully.
It's true.
And Skinner.
Yeah, it's true.
Did I?
Yep. Mike is the Mulder and I'm the Scully.
Oh, that
Kerry
was
is
you.
the Skinner. Yeah.
Pin that on me.
Well, I think that it was deliberately put in there for a little bit of fan service, and pulling the rug out from underneath their collective feet was
it's glorious.
Was pretty fun for sure. But
it was the right thing to do.
But with the bee, the sudden
I
bee
didn't
sting.
say that the bee was a good idea. Nor do I understand.
Deus ex machina?
Yes, definitely. Bias interruptus.
Nice.
Yeah.
No,
well,
the
as it turns
scene
out,
was nice. Although he's never been nice to her since then or before.
Yeah.
That's the nicest he's ever been to her.
Well, he says, I owe you everything. That's definitely
a big line.
him.
Yes, and he doesn't mean it because by season 6, he's back to being a dick.
But he's got an imperative there. Like he wants to keep her working with him. You know, he's trying to convince her not to.
He's telling her what she
abandon
wants to
X-Files.
hear. All right.
Yeah, basically.
So he's being a man, basically.
Check.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Check.
It
Tell her
checks
what
out.
she wants
That
to
checks
hear
out.
so she shuts the fuck up and does what I want her to do.
Yeah, I love you. Of course, I want kids. Sure.
Of course. Anything you want, honey.
Well, I especially liked how David Duchovny in real life towers over Gillian Anderson. Like they are at least 6 to 8 inches different in height. For most of that scene, it's evidence, but when the embrace comes in, suddenly she's standing on a stack of phone books or something because they are almost directly parallel, so they can have some serious lip locking action.
And then nothing happens.
And then nothing happens.
There is the alternate take where they just fall into this mad makeout session, which I'm sure
that
a
was
lot of
hysterical.
people
I
of you
saw
guys have
that.
seen. But
That was great. Puts her up
Nice.
against the wall, and that was fun.
was
How
a
many
completely
times
different
have
movie.
you guys watched that?
They're just devoted fans, Josh. That's all it is. So it's a pretty good fake out, actually. I did not see it coming. The idea that Scully was going to get snapped up by a fake ambulance. It does speak to a level of preparation on par with we've got 3 tanker trucks and helicopters in close proximity to Blackwood, just in case there's a black oil incident.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Crocuppy.
when Mulder goes to ask what hospital they're taking Scully to, he gets shot. Would it not just be simpler to say, "Oh, St. Mike's, see you there," and then take off? But again, I think it speaks to the fact that our evil henchman really wants to kill Mulder.
he's working at it. He's
Yeah.
like, this is
Very
his way of
determined.
rebelling against his boss. He's like, I didn't kill him, but I took my shot.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Yeah,
Consistently.
I really did. He did hesitate for a moment, right? He has that look on him like,
God damn it!
yeah, I'm going to kill you, blam, and I'm not even going to lower the window.
He's reflecting back to his last performance review. Lacks imagination. Watch fucking this.
I'm gonna bounce a bullet off his head and make sure he lives.
Doesn't take initiative. Really?
Yeah. I can do this. Well, we cut now to a dramatic sequence of the sci-fi cryo casket. Now, wait, what do we call that? The bubble basket?
Science bubble. I don't know.
Science bubble? Well, it's now being transported into a cargo plane overseen by the cigarette-smoking man, accompanied by Mark Snow's sweeping orchestral strains.
I will.
Close-up shows it.
I was gonna
yeah.
say, I will say that scene, the sequence is really cool, really dark,
Yeah.
and yeah, I like it.
it's a nice Empire Strikes Back moment where the heroes have taken one in the chin, and it looks pretty dark.
All is lost moment.
Yeah. So it looks like the CSM has won, right?
End of Act 2.
Sorry?
I mean, you're right. Like, this is end of Act 2. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this is a 3-act thing. Empire Strikes Back. This is the lowest dip.
Yeah, indeed.
Scully's gone. Mulder's shot.
I'd even argue there's another lowest ebb, too. I mean, just before Mulder goes off to Antarctica, when we have another inciting incident. But yeah, they're...
Okay.
We just continuing on in the cargo plane, a close-up shows, of course, it is a comatose Scully inside. The door of the cargo plane closes ominously as CSM smokes his cigarette. In our blackout, we hear voices. Langley is arguing with Frohickey about reading Mulder's chart, and our fade-in shows it is indeed the lone gunman looking on at Mulder with concern. Hey, this movie automatically got better because the lone gunmen are here.
This was a pleasure to see. When I heard their voices in the theater, I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
And it's nice, right?
Yeah.
Like after this super dark series of events, we got a little bit of hope injected back into the plot.
Very much.
Well, they bring him back up to speed. He's lucky to be alive. A few centimeters to the left and he'd be dead. They have found the Africanized honeybee in Mulder's hallway. Does anybody know what an Africanized honeybee is?
Honeybee from Africa?
Scully had a reaction to it, and Mulder bolts upright to get on the rescue, but Skinner enters just in time to restrain him. He says that they're watching you. You can't just leave. Mulder formulates his plan. He's going to pose as buyers to leave. He's going to swap clothes with him, which probably prompts some more fan fiction, I think.
I have a question. Isn't there a height difference between him and Byers? Is this wishful thinking?
Bit. Well, if you look at his pants,
yeah,
they're a little short.
Yeah. And he doesn't take long to get out of that jacket, so it's not the right size. We cut to the lone gunman leaving, and a plainclothes agent peeks into the room to see Mulder still in his bed. Of course, it's Byers, but that's not confirmed until the lone gunman cameo is complete, and Mulder is running outside. Mulder is contacting Kurzweil to try and find out where Scully has been taken. And we cut to a nervous Kurzweil walking through an alleyway to the bar they've been meeting at. I think this is called Casey's Bar. He opens the door. He's confronted by the well-manicured man. And despite a perfectly polite greeting, Kurzweil recoils and runs back down the alleyway, only to be thwarted by Manicure Man's car blocking him in. Not going to go well for Kurzweil, I think.
Someone's screwed.
Yeah, he's done his last Deep Throat impression.
Andrew, nothing on this? Like all your nitpicks about the government's actions, and you have fucking Kurzweil, who is at the dug in like a tick at the heart of a massive international government conspiracy, and goes to the same fucking bar.
Oh yeah,
every time.
Yeah, this is our meeting
downtown
place.
Georgetown.
Yeah,
to meet his contact. Oh, P.S. I'm wanted for pedophilia.
No, that was all a misunderstanding. The cops let me go. I told them it was a setup, and they believed me. I have avoided talking a whole lot about Kurzweil just because I have no idea how to place him. Like they parachuted him in as the new Deep Throat, and you just have to take as given that his whole backstory checks out and that he's got the access he does, because without him, there's no plot. So he has been used for a purpose, and that purpose is now over. And his exiting stage left is going to... it's not really even going to do anything because he doesn't get a big exit. This is literally the last time we're going to see him.
Killed off screen.
Killed off screen. Yeah, they couldn't...
Stuffed into a trunk.
He did not consent to have his brains blown out on screen. No. Or maybe PG wouldn't have accommodated it. Well, it's too bad. Mulder has now arrived at the bar, going through to find Kurzweil, but coming up empty. He enters the alley, only to see the well-manicured man and his driver slamming the trunk of their car.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're inferring, of course, that Kurzweil is inside. We have a brief exchange between the two, only ending with the well-manicured man offering both Scully's location and the means to save her life. If only Mulder will join him in his car, which Mulder does eventually after really thinking about it. And the car drives off. So in the car, Mulder examines the pouch. It's a small bottle of brown liquid and a piece of paper with what appear to be latitude and longitude coordinates written. Well-manicured man reveals it is a weak vaccine to act against the virus that Scully has been infected with, and it's the coordinates of her location. He then says the vaccine must be administered within 96 hours. And tell me, when you go out of your way to call it a weak vaccine, what does that mean? Is it like, so it's a vaccine, but maybe not? We've had like 10% results with this.
This is where, for me, it becomes hard to defend the plot because
join the dark side, Josh. Join the dark side.
It goes, I mean, clearly crew cut B, that's fine. He's on the payroll.
Yep.
He's doing his thing. But at this point, it's a lot for well-manicured man to deliver in terms of exposition, in terms of like his role in this, and to move us towards, which is essentially a big old fat Hollywood action piece.
Yeah.
So
very much.
This is where it kind of stops being an X-Files thing and starts being
Hollywood.
A movie.
Yeah.
I would argue actually that, and I think you're absolutely right. It is going to lean hard into the Hollywood tropes very soon, but the exposition drop, I mean, I'm thinking about season 5 opener where they have that monologue from, I can't remember why are all their characters named so weird? You know, Brighouse, Kurzweil, and that guy is Kritschkow.
German names?
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Kritschkow's monologue that goes on for 3 or 4 minutes and is like super edited. I mean, that's kind of what I got out of the well-manicured man's exposition drop here. I feel like that is on form. That is a Chris Carter thing to do, to just, we need to front load a lot of information.
So
and in a way
action can happen eventually.
Well, yeah, but eventually, I suppose it's done to provide some stakes. But what I think it's really done for is to satisfy the X-Files fans who paid $8 to find out what the fuck this show is really all about.
Yeah, and this is that
teased. It does. It gives us a lot.
We know very little about it except that it was the original inhabitant of this planet.
A virus.
What is a virus? But a colonizing force that cannot be defeated, living in a cave underground until it mutates and attacks.
This is what you've been conspiring to conceal? A disease?
No, for God's sake, you've got it all backwards. AIDS, the Ebola virus, on an evolutionary scale, they are newborns. This virus walked the planet long before the dinosaurs.
What do you mean, walked?
Your aliens, Agent Mulder, your little green men, arrived here millions of years ago. Those that didn't leave have been lying dormant underground since the last ice age in the form of an evolved pathogen, waiting to be reconstituted by the alien race when it comes to colonize the planet, using us as hosts. Against this we have no defense, nothing but a weak vaccine. Do you see why it was kept secret? Why even the best men like your father, could not let the truth be known? Until Dallas, we believed the virus would simply control us, that mass infection would make us a slave race. Imagine our surprise when they began to gestate. My group has been working cooperatively with the alien colonists, facilitating programs like the one you saw to give us access to the virus, in hope that we might be able secretly to develop a cure.
To save your own asses.
Survival is the ultimate ideology. Your father wisely refused to believe this.
But he sacrificed my sister. He let them take Samantha.
Without a vaccination, the only true survivors of the viral holocaust will be those immune to it, human alien clones. He allowed your sister to be abducted, to be taken to a cloning program, for one reason.
So she would survive. As a genetic hybrid.
Your father chose hope over selfishness. Hope in the only future he had, his children. His hope for you was that you would uncover the truth about the project, that you would stop it, that you would fight the future.
It's a mouthful. I mean,
you get this in 2.5 minutes of dialogue between the well-manicured man and Mulder. So like anybody who has not watched the show is like, honey,
what?
Did you just follow that?
What just happened? My ears are bleeding.
Yeah.
I come back. I took a piss. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
Honey, we'll rent this when it comes out.
You missed
You don't know
about
what makes sense
5
anymore.
years of the X-Files is what you just missed.
Yeah. So we have some idealistic discussion about fighting the future, believing in your children, yada, yada. When Mulder asks what we are probably all asking, why is the well-manicured man telling Mulder all this? And credit to the movie for predicting the viewer's questions, i.e. my questions. The well-manicured man says it's for the same reason as Mulder's father, the sake of his own children. And now the well-manicured man's seen in London where his grandkid's broken his leg and he's all concerned. Now it makes a bit more sense, I suppose.
He's officially a turncoat in this scene. He's now trying to atone in whatever small way he can for his indiscretions.
Yeah. Well, not before he's going to off his driver himself, but anyway.
With one more loaded, ready to go.
Yeah. I'm gonna take one more with me.
I'm gonna start now.
Yeah, this is my Darth Vader moment, but I'm gonna wait until I kill one more person.
Yeah, dude, true Christian kind of mythos. Like, doesn't matter what you do, as long as you apologize for your sins,
You're good.
Yeah.
You are forgiven.
Listen, I had my reasons. After he tells Mulder this information, his life will be over. Mulder wants to leave as he learns with some meaningful glances that the well-manicured man has likely killed Kurzweil. Car pulls over, and the well-manicured man notes that he was ordered to kill Kurzweil as well as Mulder. They really have decided. They've taken a vote. Yeah.
They're like, the henchman, the crew cut guy, he's like, well, he's flying off the handle anyway, so everyone, free game. Mulder's a target now.
Yeah. There's no more hold fire order. One guy shot, so now everybody gets to shoot.
The first to do it gets a bonus.
We have a very brief bait and switch in true X-Files style. Well-manicured man is looking very ominous when he's holding his gun here, but instead he shoots the driver. It's likely the driver's got his own orders, and well-manicured man probably knows that. Tells Mulder to get out, and his final plot nugget is that introducing the virus into an alien environment, quote, may have the power to destroy the delicate plans we so assiduously protected over the last 50 years. That's a sudden character reversal, but I guess it works for the plot. Anyway, threatens Mulder with his gun that he should leave, and Mulder complies. The well-manicured man gets back into his town car, and it explodes, knocking Mulder to his feet. Now that is an exit. Do we feel any sadness for this character?
I do.
feel it comes very late.
I like well-manicured man. I always have. Ever since season 3, he's offered like a different. At first, he was very, very ominous, and I think he still carries that to the movie here. But he was more in the forefront of the syndicate, whereas the other members kind of were in the background. And his only competitor, I think, is the first elder. You know, they're not on CSM level. You know, the main bad guy for the show, but I think he outshines the first elder a lot, just in how Neville delivers his lines. I like his character, and I'm sorry to see him go.
He had some nice interactions with Scully in a couple of episodes.
Yeah, paperclip.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the movie has to be big. I guess I just question what this is actually going to achieve. You know, this like rescuing Scully, that's cool, but destroying the whole program, like, still seems like a good plan overall. If I think about it, work with the alien colonizers, but try and develop a secret vaccine. Doing this is going to flush all that down.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you don't have grandkids, Andrew.
You're just a robot.
He's recovering from a
fair enough
broken leg, and it just changed everything.
Yeah, they change your world. That's what I hear. Well, the screen fades to white. And when we fade in from white, we're into the last act of the film. It's a shot of a snowy wasteland. In the distance, we see a small black dot, which we cut to reveal it's a snowcat, the tracked vehicle you use to drive around in snowy wastelands. And Mulder is at the wheel. He consults his GPS to reveal he has arrived at his destination, 83 degrees south, 68 degrees east. He gets out and walks, climbing up a rocky outcropping from which he sees a small installation in the distance. Through binoculars, he can see other snowcats moving around the 5 spherical structures that look like installations. He continues to watch as men get in one of the vehicles and go out for a joyride. He gets up and walks towards it. He's jogging along the snow when suddenly the ground gives way underneath him, and he slides through a snowy chute until he comes to a rest far below. We hear the sound of air moving, and he sees a hole beneath him. It's leading into some kind of pipe. Looking up, he determines it's not realistic to climb back up, so he decides to descend further down. Note to self, later on, how far up is that climb going to be? Okay, just file that away for later. Crawling through the pipe, he emerges into a subterranean hallway filled with eerie ice-colored columns from which green and yellow diffuse light can be seen. Clearing the snow away, we see human forms encased in the ice with some kind of breathing apparatus in their mouth. On closer inspection, their limbs seem to be undergoing the same alien transformation we've seen previously. We cut outside briefly to the other snowcat, which comes to a rest beside Mulder's. It's the cigarette-smoking man, who has figured out there's an intruder, that it's probably only one meddlesome kid come to ruin the party. Back to Mulder in the ice caves, he wanders through with his flashlight until he arrives at another great alien set filled with drifting mist and hard, rugged lines. He enters into an even bigger interior space, seemingly a mile across, filled with scores of these alien structures. Mark Snow's orchestral score amplifies the panoramic view across this alien landscape, and we focus in on one segment of the area which appears to be operational, with capsules moving across a creaking conveyor, each emanating a ghostly light. He starts to descend the wall, but loses his grip and slides down the inside until he narrowly grabs onto the edge to stop his fall. He manages to climb back up to safety, but he loses his binoculars. Pulling out his flashlight saber.
Will really come back into play, by the way.
He pulls out his flashlight saber. He walks slowly over to Scully's capsule, which is empty, except for Scully's clothes. And as a nod to the true fans, her cross necklace. Does that resonate for everybody?
He's fingering it again.
He just can't get his hands off it.
Oh.
By the way, 10 minutes of on-screen time with 0 dialogue.
I know.
Except for Mulder saying, "Oh shit."
Yes. But it's... I will give it, I don't know. For me, sometimes some of the best movie making is done without dialogue.
That wasn't a knock.
Yeah. No. I think it's really effective here, actually. It's visceral and interesting to look at. Well, he walks into another hallway, seeing more capsules containing hapless humans undergoing a transformation, until finally he finds Scully, eyes open, suspended in goo. He slaps ineffectually at the glass of her container. We cut back to the cigarette-smoking man returning and military types busying themselves with military activities. CSM relates that they've got a breach and they need to arm themselves. Everyone springs into action. Meanwhile, Mulder has found a metal canister and he uses it to smash open Scully's container. He injects her with a vaccine and there's an immediate reaction. The alien goo evacuates her body and her breathing tube thingy shrivels up and dies. There's also an immediate reaction into the overall system. An alarm goes off, and a technician tells the cigarette-smoking man that there's a contaminant in the system. And the CSM tells us Mulder has the vaccine. Back to Mulder and Scully, and all hell is breaking loose. Steam is venting, the ground is shaking. Mulder pulls something gross out of Scully's throat and helpfully suggests that she should breathe. She's okay, and he smashes her out of the rest of the capsule. Meanwhile, all hell continues to break out in the military installation. CSM is organizing an evacuation. "Abandon your post" is my favorite line of the entire movie.
Flee for your lives. Got some Lord of the Rings
hopeless.
there.
Run to the snowcats.
I'm sorry. Can we just go back to Scully and the thing with the mouth? Grossness
Absolutely.
Is happening.
The body horror moment.
Christ. No, but that had to be miserable to shoot. For her.
I don't know if she had the whole cord in her mouth or something, or if she actually...
I think it's a reverse shot when he pulls it out, right? So
No, I mean, like, being stuck in the water and, like, filming all wet, and it just looks miserable.
Well,
you're
there is a dummy Scully for some of that. So
Stunt Scully.
it's one of them's a makeup doll.
Right.
So, and where would you get that makeup?
Right?
Still around
for research
or-
purposes, Josh.
I'm a fan of the show.
Yeah.
I'd like some props.
Life size, right? Anatomically correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love being the only girl.
Do you have?
You can borrow it if you want. Or-
Sweet.
Fine, only if I can borrow it.
I just like to dress her in the clothes. That's all.
You just
I'm gonna
wanna
put you
dress
in
her
this pantsuit today.
Yeah. The red one from
The red
season
pantsuit. God, those season 1 pantsuits.
Oh man. It wasn't until season 5 she started wearing good clothes. Well, she's not wearing any clothes in this scene. Does that do anything? I don't know. So the military folks are bailing out. Crew cut man is on the scene asking about Mulder because he's obsessed.
Can I kill him yet?
Can I go down there and finish the job? Because really, this guy is bad news. What CSM replies, he'll never make it. Clearly, he has not been paying attention for the last 5 friggin' seasons where Mulder did make it out of all the scrapes.
Even when you
that he's
threw a
gotten
hand
put
grenade
into.
at him inside of a train car.
Burn it.
Burn it. I'm
Yeah.
alive. It's all good.
He has not been paying attention. So it's like Scooby-Doo, you know, and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those damn kids. So Mulder and Scully limp their way through the installation while CSM and the rest of the baddies jump into their snowcats and drive away. In the ship, things are heating up with things starting to melt and alien claws scratch meaningfully at their capsules. Mulder and Scully climb up a ladder until Mulder is forced to carry Scully. He returns to the pipe he entered in, but Scully has stopped breathing. He is diagnosing her while nearby aliens wrestle about, and I am being told I need to reverse for a freeze frame moment from our sponsors. Mike, please go.
Okay, I have a question. This is a hard to believe moment for me.
Wait, are you about to criticize the plot?
I am. And to be fair,
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. What the?
I know that, you know, the joke between Mulder and Scully was put into place in the beginning of the film. One, my question is, why would you choose now to play another joke? Two,
God, yeah.
Would you ever any of you, I'm asking the floor here, any of you willingly let someone who thinks you're unconscious to perform chest compressions on you while you're awake? Like legit CPR.
I don't think that she's playing a joke.
So she just made that up.
I think no. I think that I think it's bad writing, unfortunately, because I think that what they're trying to do is amp up the tension by having her stop breathing, and he has to perform the medical resurrection of mouth to mouth and CPR. I bought that, and then when she came back, I think that was what she chose to say as a funny comeback.
I wanted to see if that's how you read it. Because I've always been on the fence on whether she was actually playing a joke or if that's just what she chose to say.
I think it's what she chose to say. I think I don't think you're going to lay there with these alien thingies.
I think you would start coughing up, going, kidding.
You just broke my sternum.
It's nice to see in a show with one of the two main characters, a medical doctor, the first time anybody fucking performs CPR, because every other time, literally somebody that could be revived is like, oh no, Paul's dead.
Yes,
I'm a doctor.
She is unfortunately very guilty of that.
There's nothing we can do. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to get him to the hospital. Wait. Let him finish his monologue first.
He looks dead from across the room. I think we should move on here.
Yeah. I think we're done here. Yeah, Josh, what was your take on that? Did you think that she was faking it out?
No, I think what you said, it was supposed to be dramatic. She really did, like, you know, she was going down and Mulder saved her, and then she chose to respond in witty fashion, and our hearts grew too large, 2 sizes larger.
We broke the measuring device.
I love it and hate it because it is a great moment. Like, it is a good gag. It does break the tension and it's fun. But at the same time, they've worked so hard to build up the tension, and they're working hard even as that scene goes on. And then this thing happens, you're like, what? So just to round it out there. So the aliens are wrestling around their capsules, and he administers mouth to mouth, which is the closest thing we'll get to a kiss. I'm sorry, shippers.
God damn it.
CPR while aliens bang about in their capsules is probably the most X-Files medical emergency you can have. She comes back to life, coughing and hacking, and then quips a good callback. I totally had you. Discuss. Meanwhile, the aliens have managed to crack through their cages and are escaping, so our dynamic duo scamper up the pipe and crawl at a painfully slow pace away. Aliens screaming behind them, and when I say aliens, there is definitely an homage going on to this movie of the same name. It literally feels like the end of Aliens.
Yeah.
If you say so.
Oh, those are fighting words. You're going to have to see that movie.
I will.
I mean, does it just mean...
want Mulder to say, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Yeah, exactly. Or hug a grenade and looking at it.
You always were an asshole. That would have been the better ending. I would support that ending.
It would have been.
That would have been a good CSM and crew cut man line.
Yeah. Yeah, they're driving along the snowcat, and an alien sort of comes up from behind them. Oh. Well, fortunately, the aliens can't crawl or climb or something, because we only get a very brief threat of aliens when Mulder and Scully finally emerge from their pipe. An alien literally pops out and is then immediately swallowed back up into the pipe, which, I don't know about you, but I found real strange.
It was go time. They said the pilot has signaled we're about ready to pull away from the jetway. We're going to be closing all exterior doors. Please take your seats.
Gotta go.
Come back in, Larry. You are not authorized to kill Mulder. Only the crew cut man can kill Mulder.
All the aliens have been read in on the rules to not kill Mulder.
Yeah, that's right. Well, despite our previous scene, which showed an ascent of what looked to be 100 feet up an almost vertical icy chasm, Mulder and Scully emerged into the sunny Antarctic landscape, breathing hard. But the adventure isn't over yet. We hear the sounds of ice cracking, and no sooner have they started to relax than the ground begins to break apart. Mulder hoists Scully up, and they begin to limp away, watching the installation be torn asunder as a crater forms behind them. They run and stumble away from the devastation in a pretty convincing CGI sequence, only to fall away into the chasm that crumbles away beneath them. Well, as fake-outs go, it's pretty quick, and our heroes are flown up out of the crater on the shell of a giant flying saucer. They skid off the ship and fall onto the edge of the crater as the ship ascends, and Mulder looks on to watch it fly over. Of course, Scully is unconscious and doesn't witness this amazing event. Holding true to the series, the ship disappears into the... What? You think she saw it?
She did see.
She
whispers, "I saw it."
Captioning it says, yeah.
She saw it, sir.
I did not watch this with the captions, so all I saw was Scully going,
hear it. No, it is hard to hear, but she does say, "I saw it."
I'm consulting the transcript, sir. I don't believe...
doubting me?
I just watched it.
Okay, she says, "I see it." Fine. All right. Well, I guess they've wrapped a loop on that one. So she's formally read in on paranormal stuff.
Can I chime in?
Yeah.
I don't think she sees it. I think she tells Mulder.
I like it.
Hey, that's a good twist.
That works.
Because if you actually look at the shots, she never looks up.
They do never show her looking that direction. You are correct.
She's seeing the face of God.
This is
what she's seeing.
her faith in Mulder. I saw it too.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a better
that's
moment.
Good.
I like that.
That's very good.
I like it a lot.
I like that. That's sweet.
Well, the okay,
and then
good.
he can die in peace, because that seems what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. They are watching the ship disappear in the distance, leaving Mulder and Scully alone in one of the most hostile environments on Earth, alive, but without any meaningful cold weather gear, and most importantly, without any hats. Come on, movie. We live in Canada. It's cold up here. We wear hats. Kerry lives in Buffalo. She probably wears a hat when she goes out.
Yes.
I don't know where Josh and Mike live exactly, but they probably wear hats too in winter.
Would you like to see more if they reach in their pocket for a couple of warm toques?
Sure would.
Tukes.
I sure would. That would have turned it around for me.
Wait, where did Scully get the pants from?
I was wondering that too.
And the sock.
He had
maybe they put her into the capsule wearing pants.
Ah, yes.
Snow pants.
Of course.
Specifically. Yeah.
Everything else, nothing on, but just snow pants.
Just the snow pants.
Interesting take.
Yeah. Listen, they were going to give her the whole thing, but it ran out of her size.
Mulder brought her a change. Before he headed out to Antarctica, he stopped by her place. What will she need?
Yeah, he actually had a pair of snow pants in his pocket.
He took the opportunity to go through her lingerie drawer.
Yeah.
they skipped the part where Mulder broke someone else free, stripped them, left them to die.
Left them to die.
And dressed them.
Sorry,
because, by the way,
pants?
everybody else in that craft, fucked.
True, eh? True. But he only had vaccine for one. So, sorry?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, as the shippers probably enjoy the final moment of this scene, where Scully regains her composure and pulls Mulder into a warm embrace, and a helicopter shot pulls away and shows them on the edge of a giant snowy crater. We fade to black.
How'd they get home?
Listen, nothing about this plot needs to tell you how they got home. They walked.
I actually push back against that. Do you think he would have got out here without telling Skinner where he was going?
Yes.
I mean, yes, you can say yes, but come on. It explains itself. You don't need to have a hand fed to you.
Well,
I don't view it as
I think it's best to skip it.
Skip it.
It's a deleted scene. They actually have a road movie in between Antarctica and getting back to Washington. It's a Thelma and Louise kind of thing.
Oh,
I think they make fun of that in Alone, don't they?
They do.
The episode
Season 8.
Alone, I think they make fun of it.
They do.
Like when the agent asks, "How did you get home?" I don't think they ever answered it.
No, they just make a joke about it.
Nice moment. We come back to the Office of Professional Review, headed up by Agent Cassidy. We get a montage of scenes underneath Cassidy and Scully. Cassidy is essentially taking on Skinner's role at this point, unable to reconcile the facts presented with the official narrative. And with no proof, there's nothing the agency can really do. Underneath this scene, we see the crops being burned, we see samples being destroyed, basically the cover-up in full speed. Cassidy's not going to submit a report to the Attorney General with Scully's allegations without any proof, so she's going to delete all these references in the final report until hard evidence becomes available, which would give them cause to pursue a final and further investigation. A weathered and hardened Scully approaches and gives Cassidy a vial containing the bee which stung her, the only evidence left, and she delivers her zinger before she exits the scene, which will obviously lead us into Season 6. I don't believe the FBI currently has an investigative unit qualified to pursue the evidence in hand. Boom! What a shot.
I like that line.
What a boss.
Oh, it's so good. It's my second favorite bit for Scully in this episode. The first being her swinging into action to clear that building. I was wishing she had gone on to say, "You used to have a team that could do this, but you relocated."
Snaps her fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to ask, what do we think of, it's Blythe Danner who plays Cassidy, and this whole Office of Professional Review sub-scene, the scenes that they have there, I don't really get much out of this other than they're there to put the screws to the team. But I got to feel like if you're Blythe Danner, you had a hard time because like your only acting is at a desk doing your bits.
Yeah.
Maybe she was a fan of the show.
I think the best thing you can say in his defense is like her guidance would basically be a stuffed suit. And that is what she does. What does that do? Well, it makes her intentions unclear. Like, I think you're not supposed to know, is she driven by the syndicate? Is she just some bureaucrat in the FBI machine that's going through the motions of this professional review she's tasked with? And I think she doesn't do much with it, but I think that kind of helps, because I think if you start to look too closely at like, oh, is this whole thing, like, is she part of the thing? Is she not? Then that becomes like another piece of this very complicated puzzle that cannot work. And instead it's just like, okay, she's just doing that role and fine.
Yeah. You know, to your point, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because I did not look at them as sort of tools of the syndicate. And obviously, yes, of course they would be, because we've thought that about Skinner in the past, right? Where do his allegiances lie? So it makes that scene a lot better when you think of it like that. So I thank you for that. The one part of this movie that anyway, our final scene with the dynamic duo takes place in the Capitol Mall in Washington, with Mulder sitting on a bench by the reflecting pool. He's reading about the cover-up in Blackwood, which he comments upon cynically. We get an emotional scene between them with an exhausted Mulder and a rejuvenated Scully. He thinks they're wasting their time to try and continue their investigations into the paranormal, working against people like Cassidy, but she's turned over a new leaf, recognizing that there is a threat of this virus, and there's a cure out there that could save the world. She sums it up eloquently. If she quits now, they win. And they hold hands and walk off to the fluttering hearts of millions of shippers.
Just love fucking with the shippers.
Not inaccurate.
Well, you tell me, did that scene do it for you? Or...
I think the movie did it for me.
No, fair. Well, I mean, they held hands. That's the closest we're going to get for a romance with them, I think. Right?
Yeah, well, they hold hands all the time.
Until season 7.
And then they just fuck.
Boy, that's a real jump the shark moment right there.
I want to see some hand stuff on the National Mall.
Our very, very final scene of the movie is in Tunisia, specifically Tatooine, which, yes, is a real place, and yes, was cannibalized by George Lucas in his popular space operas. Anyway, it's a meeting between the cigarette-smoking man and Strughold. They have business. It's about Mulder. Strughold summarizes perfectly how the plot and its antagonist should feel about Mulder. Ah, that name. Again and again. To be fair, they really did try several times to kill him in this outing, so maybe his plot armor is getting thin. Anyway, final nugget is that CSM has learned that Mulder is determined and reinvested, and he's going to be a thorn in their sides again. We see a telegram which reveals that the X-Files have been reopened. Camera pans up to see a huge cornfield in the middle of the desert, complete with giant white canopies. The Empire is ready to strike back, it would seem. End of movie. Complete with 90s soundtrack. I gotta say, this ending is not, it's not Hollywood. It is definitely in keeping with the X-Files in terms of how they decide to go out. Understated and not big and poppy. It certainly is a setup for season 6, right? Because we're going to get right back into X-Files again.
Oh, yeah. I do appreciate that it was not a big flashy ending outside of the spaceship thing. They ended on a note.
Oh, that.
You know what I mean.
I do, yeah.
A nice understated quarter-mile spaceship lifting up from the Arctic ice.
yeah. Subtle.
It was subtle.
But it is typical X-Files to have these codas at the end where usually in a lesser episode, it's about, teasing the fact that our villain is not in fact dead like we all thought he was, and maybe he'll show up again in the future. But in this case, it's about
the X-Files not being dead like we thought they were.
Exactly. And our characters are given renewed purpose. And I do like that thread of the movie in that Scully's faith is questioned, Mulder's faith is questioned, and they both get a chance to reinvigorate themselves to the chase. So I think that's the larger message of the movie, which feels like an opportune time to start talking about our final thoughts to the movie. And I think we should let our special guest go first.
Oh boy. Well, I'll say I think it's a good movie. I think it's an enjoyable watch. I think you have fun with it. I think if you like the X-Files, you're going to enjoy it. I think if you don't know the X-Files, I think there's a good chance. I'm just guessing at this. I think you could enjoy the movie. I think ultimately to rewatch it and to really get into it, you have to, as you pointed out, Andrew, you have to shut your head off for a lot. And to me, it comes down to when you're dealing with X-Files mythology, especially at this point, and the undertaking they're trying to do of putting a movie out that's going to take place between 2 seasons, that's going to not cast aside anything that's happened over 110, 120 episodes, and then carry that story forward. You're putting 50 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag. And it's a serviceable effort. For me, if I could have made a different X-Files movie, or I couldn't, but if I could have asked them to, I would have tried to make it more like an episode. But that comes down to ultimately me thinking mythology personally is the least important part of the show. Because for me, it's the show about the setup, the characters, the execution, the acting, the whole concept of it, more than it is about the plot of the show. I have a friend at work actually who just started watching the show like in the last few months.
Oh, nice.
And he's been watching it. He's starting into season 2 and he likes it a lot, but I can already tell he's more cued into the mythology. He's like, yeah, the monster of the week, those are fine, whatever. But he's like, I want to see where it goes. And I'm like, man, that sucks. That sucks for you. Because
tell him to stop watching after the movie, basically.
Because yeah, like I can't get away from the perspective of like the mythology ultimately is a letdown. And if the goal of the movie is to take the mythology and try to put a bow on what they've done and yet leave enough to go forward, I think you're putting a cap on it. And, you know, the second movie, I think it's a worse movie than this, but I almost enjoy it more because the second movie is just an X-Files episode kind of, and that's kind of what I want to watch. There's a lot of episodes that would be a lot better with a bigger budget and 2 hours to tell it in, or 1 hour and 45 to do it. And that's all I need from it. That's not what they were looking to do. And so they had a different goal. And I think they did an okay job of it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I totally like that take. Kerry, what are your final thoughts?
I actually agree with a lot of what Josh said. I think that their goal was to have it be for everybody, but I think if I had gone into the theater not knowing anything about the show, I would have been relatively confused about halfway in. But for somebody who enjoys the show, I liked it. I mean, it was fine. It was a good movie for what it was, and I'll pretty much watch anything with Mulder and Scully in it, so I'm a little biased in that respect. But the mythology has always been, from what I understand, it wasn't supposed to be a thing until Jillian got pregnant, and they had to do something. So they had the myth arc with Ascension in one breath, and it just kind of carried on from there. But I don't think Chris Carter had any clue what the fuck was going to happen as it continued on. And it was kind of just like making it up as you go along. And I think that gets a little convoluted, especially around this time. But it was fun. It was nice to see on the big screen with a bigger budget. I mean, you can what if anything to death, but if you just kind of suspend reality for a little bit and just enjoy it as a movie with things that blow up and, you know, banter and secret government whatevers, I mean, I think it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like I said, the first watch through I had of it was, this is a nice roller coaster and it totally works in the theater. But I think it's just repeated viewing where, at least if you're me, you start picking it apart. But Mike, let us hear your final thoughts.
Well, it's not going to be too far off from what other people have said already. I give the movie overall maybe a 75, 80. If I had to give it a percentage out of 100, I think it's a valiant attempt to bring the series to the mainstream audience. I mean, like it or not, X-Files started as this niche show, had a cult following, and this was their big break. And they needed the general audience. So they had to make something enjoyable and something they could understand. So I think they did a very good job, but it is confusing at times. And if you don't turn your brain off, some of that stuff is going to get lost in translation. And for fans of the show, I think they serviced us as well as they could while trying to get that new audience. I mean, any way you look at it, it's a big ask. taking a television show and moving to the theaters, that's going to require more people than your normal audience. They did what they could, you know? They had to pare down that mythology as best they could so that the general audience can understand it and at least be serviced that way and get drawn in. And I think they did an all right job with Neville's speech in the car. It's fast, but it's, I guess, what it needs to be. It was a good attempt. I do think the initial plan going forward was to end the show and to continue it through film. That obviously didn't happen, but I am one of the believers that the mythology is pretty solid, if not confusing, through season 6. Once you get to the end of season 6, it's pretty far out there, and then I kind of give up on it. Overall, I thought the movie was fun. It has its problems, but yeah, good time.
I mean, I'll just echo everything that you all just said. I mean, obviously, I took more exception to some bits and pieces of it, but I think that it did have that challenge, you know, and it was almost insurmountable, the idea of making this movie. As Josh initially said, it was a hell of a project to do, to take this property with such a tapestry of backstory behind it and turn it into a movie to satisfy multiple audiences. It's very ambitious. And I think for what they came up with, it was solid. It probably was a nice wow story in the theater for people that saw it then. I think it had a lot of ambition to make it happen. And it gave them the opportunity to play on a bigger canvas with a longer storyline. And arguably it succeeded, I would say. I don't think it's perfect. I think it does not hold up well to scrutiny if you compare it to other episodes that they have created in its 5 seasons up till now. I wonder what a movie penned by Vince Gilligan would have looked like. I think it would have been completely different, but probably...
It would have been tighter, more focused for sure.
It probably would have been tighter, yeah. Maybe it wouldn't have been as Hollywood. I don't actually know if Vince Gilligan has written anything for the big screen. But it was a different world in 98, right? You weren't putting TV shows out for streaming consumption. It was very much serialized, and you did think in terms of how do we box this up and sell it as a DVD compendium. You know, turning it into a movie was also a gamble. So a lot of factors there at play. But for what it is, you know, on the first watch, I enjoyed it. I can't say I didn't. It's just my nature to pull things apart and look at them like a fly. So
one small thing I wanted to add, if I can,
absolutely,
of course.
In retrospect, just their desire to reach out to a new audience. Obviously, it's maybe monetarily driven, of course, but I've been thinking about it since Kerry made an offhanded comment earlier about not being into Star Wars or Star Trek or having watched Alien or Aliens, and the fact that we're here talking about X-Files is part of what makes this show so special, is that it brings people that are like deep into fucking nerd culture and sci-fi and that kind of stuff, along with people who just like good stories and good characters. And it's kind of this middle ground of nerddom and just quality TV and storytelling where people can come together. And there's not a lot of what I would call like sci-fi properties that are like that. And I think, you know, that's cool. If this movie grab some people that maybe weren't in that side of the world because it was a little bit maybe niche or, you know, whatever, then fucking power to it, because that's awesome.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That's testament to Mulder and Scully and David and Gillian. Just their chemistry, I think, allows to bridge that gap. Because if you don't have two people that are that likable and that don't work well together, I don't think that kind of jump is going to be quite as successful. So they have a lot to do with that.
Absolutely. But I think you do have to give props to Chris Carter for essentially combining all of those elements and putting lightning in a bottle. Because
we do like to poke fun.
I mean, we've filleted him often enough. I mean, it's really his genius of just putting his finger on the pulse of the paranoia of the moment and making choices like really championing hard for Gillian Anderson to be Scully and writing her in a way which was extremely progressive for the time. it just was like nothing else out in the time. But anyway, that is far beyond the conversation about the movie, I would say. Should we go to any listener comments? I think we might have a few.
There's quite a few.
I believe Josh may have made a comment or two on the movie.
I don't think I did.
Oh, no?
I planned not to. So I was like, I'm going to fucking run my suck enough.
Didn't want to blow your cover.
How about Emily Messenger's Kerry?
I could go on and on about this movie. I love that diehard fans of the show during its original run can tell you everything about the day they saw Fight the Future in the theaters for the first time. It's the equivalent to Where Were You When JFK was shot? Well, the movie came out during the most pivotal time of my young life, and seeing it with my best friends in the theater on opening night is one of my greatest memories. I know, to quote Mulder, that has a vaguely pathetic ring to it, but it's true.
Wow. I'm sorry I shot all over this movie.
He apologizes a lot. He doesn't mean
it.
I'm like Mulder that way. Mike, what one have you chosen?
Liza M. says, my highlights, Scully taking charge before winding up in distress again, Mulder's exchanges with the sketchy ex-doctor, the disgusting infected cadavers, Skinner being Skinner, and the hallway scene with the bee. Still remember the whole theater groaning at the sting in 1998 and my teenage semi-shipper self groaning with them. Yeah, pretty spot on for the theater experience. Yeah. I heard that Chris Carter and Frank Spotnitz traveled when this movie debuted from theater to theater to gauge everyone's reactions. And they said they found themselves in a theater with like 1,000 Chinese people, and they were all freaking out when they didn't kiss. He said it was pretty awesome to see how far stretching this movie gets.
That's pretty great.
All right, I'll read one from Amy Nicole Gonzalez.
Okay.
Seeing this movie in theaters on opening night and the entire theater literally screaming and throwing popcorn when the beast thing happened was one of the best movie-going experiences ever. LOL. I'm sorry. She doesn't talk like that, but
I bet you will get a comment.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was good. I'll do Ryan Alexander because we share a name somewhere. So honestly, my favorite thing in relation to the movie was the hidden track at the end of the soundtrack, where they tell the whole story of the alien plot in detail up until that point. And that sounds like a joke, but it is legit 100% there. It's like 5 minutes long or something. So, Kerry, if you still have the soundtrack, you can go and look for it. Aaron says in his comment, I had this soundtrack in CD and never knew about this. Bruce Statler said, I had the soundtrack on CD. I think it's at 10 minutes and 13 seconds after the last song. The soundtrack itself actually isn't bad.
I don't know about the soundtrack. Nice. I bought there was 2 albums that came out. There was one that had like Mark Snow's score, and then the one that had like Filter and Foo Fighters on it. I had that one.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about the 10-13 thing, but actually this is the first I've ever heard of that. I didn't know that was a thing.
They did it on Songs in the Key of X as well, actually. They had a hidden track. Yeah, it was cool. You had to rewind from track 1.
Huh.
And then you would hear it. I don't know how they did that, but it was kind of cool. It was a Nick Cave song.
Oh, Nick Cave.
Nick Cave.
Mm. Well, Mike, I think we've reached the end. Do you want to see us out here?
We have.
Do we want to sing the X-Files song together? Is that an appropriate way to end?
No.
Wow. Americans just so loath to do anything fun.
Well, you're friendlier than us.
More apologetic, it would seem.
Very much so.
Oh, go listen to Nastygram. I'm supposed to plug that. Nastygram RPG podcast.
I was going to actually ask you to do that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, go check out Nastygram Podcast. It is a wonderful tabletop game where several friends have the time of their lives playing make-believes, and it's a good time to listen.
But also keep listening to this podcast. And if you haven't, you lazy fucks, go review it and post about it and tell people. It's awesome. Grow the community. Keep it going.
Well, that is ladies and gentlemen, the end of the episode, the end of the movie. I would like to thank Josh very much for being a part of this. We really greatly appreciate you being here. It's a blast. I had fun. Hope you did too. If you guys would like to say goodbye, please do so.
It's been great to have you with us. And as you said before, we wouldn't have been here without you. So I just want to say it's been a great experience just reviewing these episodes for the 1st and 5th season and the movie as well. I've had a blast, and I look forward to the next ones. But until then, it's been fun fighting the future with y'all tonight, and I'm glad we didn't surrender.
Wow, 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 wow.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. If you liked what you heard, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe, or ratings and reviews on your podcast app of choice. We appreciate all feedback and would love to hear it. Please visit our Facebook page, The Syndicate, This Is Not Happening, and follow us on Twitter at TXF Syndicate, and join in on the discussions and fun. Also check out Magus Media's other podcast, the Chips Groove Podcast, for fun, in-depth reviews of video game soundtracks of all generations. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.